Hi, welcome back, guys. This is your friend. Cinnamon Roll, what if with another fiction? What if Deku Rise of the Dark Vigilante? Now, before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want more videos like this, now let's get into the fanfic. Early in the morning, Luna sat under a cherry blossom tree. She began recalling everything that happened at Ua High. After enrolling in the hero course, she and her classmates faced a series of incidents that put them up against the worst of the worst, especially three mysterious relatives that inherited a secret quirk called Divine Trinity, just like Luna and her mother Tarot Chariot. Despite all of that, all Class 1 unofficially got their provisional hero licenses. While they had their hands full at the end of their first year, they innocently failed to realize the evil quietly growing in the shadows until it became too strong for any of them to ignore. Luna stared at the fallen flower petals, knowing that today's the day for a hardcore battle against the two groups of familiar villains. It's been a whole week since Rhino worked behind the scenes within the Amarante Coven, gathering secret information and informing Tarot Chariot about the Coven's secret location and plan of attack. The same week that she received the hint tip hospital from Hawks and the Safety Commission. Inside a bluish-gray multi-story warehouse, Rhina and Capelia entered the main room, where Aurora, Nightshade, Opalite, Titania, Triton, Galadia, Zircon, and Charon gathered together. Then, they turned their heads to see Deku standing before them. "Where's Oriana, Karina, and Ariella?" Aurora asked. "They will attend with us shortly," Deku replied. "Here's the status report. My synthezoids are 100% upgraded from previous testing and ready to go along with my Iron Maidens. They'll follow orders to perfection. The Amarante Coven is currently split into 3 groups based on their skills. Sadly, it took me a whole month to figure it out," Rhina thought to herself. "First, Aurora is paired up with me and Capelia. Charon teams up with Nightshade, Zircon, and Opalite, and Titania is with Triton and Galadia. Dr. Deku, on the other hand, will stay in his lab for the time being. And the 3 empresses are preparing themselves to shine upon the world somewhere in the airship. Thanks to our 4-month training and planning, we cannot afford to be far behind from our task," Deku added. "Also, not only they want the annihilation of the heroes, they also want to annihilate the entire Paranormal Liberation Front," Rhina added. "In other words, once Shigaraki and his army are gone, the Amarante Coven will rise up to end Japan. With Rhina, Aurora, and Capelia our eyes and ears and the rest of us being the muscle, we will take down any hero who stands in our way and finish off the Paranormal Liberation Front, so we can finally see our empire rise up once again," Deku continued. She then let out a sinister smile. "It's going to be quite a party." Oriana, Karina, and Ariella suddenly walked into the main room, where everyone turned their heads at them. The empresses are wearing a long black cloak that is lined with signature color inside and dark shade of signature color fur at the bottom. Their cloak has a golden pendant that connects with the high black color. "Thank you all for attending," Oriana spoke. "We won't underestimate heroes anymore. We'll use all the power we can get to destroy Tarot Chariot and her legacy. Our next fight will be her last." Only 4 of 6 sages and Zircon formed wicked smiles. Charon looked away with a frown while Nightshade looked down with a skeptical face. "I'm too late," Rhina thought in high alarm. "If I don't take action now, it'll be the end of Japan for all citizens and the heroes." In a conference room, Tarot Chariot had gathered her trusted allies for an important meeting about a decisive battle coming upon them. Sitting around the conference table are Morganite, Estrella, Celeria, Selena, Amazonite, Vondergeist, Zodiac Moon, White Queen, and Black King. Tarot Chariot already projected 3 pictures of her family on the screen. Oriana, Karina, and Ariella. Quirk, Divine Trinity. They are the empresses of the Amarante Empire. As the highest-ranking matriarchs, everyone within the empire is devotedly loyal to them. Tarot Chariot explained. My mother Oriana is the superior leader who held complete control of the empire. My oldest sister Karina was in charge of the military, while my other sister Ariella oversaw both diplomacy and rule enforcement. But what about your status? White Queen asked. As the youngest, I was beneath my sisters and my mother. Like it or not, I was left no choice but to obey their every order. Tarot Chariot replied. And how do you know about their current objective? Zodiac Moon asked. After the Shatrix redeemed their actions, Rhina volunteered to receive information undercover. Tarot Chariot answered. According to her robot, we got evidence on the Empire's hideout and the piece of their plan. Tarot Chariot pulled up a photo of a squad of synthezoids. No way, Selena muttered in shock. Dr. Deku have perfected them, Celeria exclaimed in surprise. But they're just robots, Black King said dismissively. But they're not just any robots, Estrella replied. Before my sisters and I switched sides, Dr. Deku developed these robots that can morph their arms into any formidable weapon. Drills, buzzsaws, large curved blades, you name it. It's going to be a challenge to arrest the entire Amarante Coven. Tarot Chariot said. That's why I developed a plan that will split us into 2 teams to face this situation. Tarot Chariot pulled up a picture of the 2 teams on the screen. One team included Tarot Chariot, Morganite, and their sidekicks on the left side of the screen, while the other team included Black King, White Queen, Amazonite, Zodiac Moon, Vondergeist, Estrella, Celeria, and Selena on the right side. My team will secure civilian evacuation and rescue, and the other team will storm the Naboo Armory, which is considered the Amarante Coven's hideout. Tarot Chariot explained. In addition, Hero Course students will be deployed as logistical support for both teams. Once the fighting begins, we expect resistance from the Amarante Coven and the Synthezoids. Overall, we'll take them all out in one sweep. With that, all the heroes departed with fierce determination. White Queen's team stood on the front lines by the Naboo Armory. The 2 Hero Course students that are joining them are Selene and Diana. Right now, the enemy has an entire robotic squad inside that warehouse. White Queen said to the pro heroes, the sidekicks, and the UA students. If we take them all out, they won't have anywhere to escape. But also, keep a sharp eye for any sneak attack. Sensing that Celeria and Selena are worried, Estrella placed both comforting hands on her sister's shoulders. Comet and Lilith smiled confidently at them. Celeria and Selena took notice as they nodded their heads. Diana cracked her knuckles in preparation, while Selene placed her hands on her hips as she narrowed her eyes at the mansion. You ready for this? Selene asks. Oh, trust me, I'm ready. This is going to be fun. Diana grinned. Meanwhile, Tarot Chariot's team stood on the top of the Might Tower. The 2 Hero Course students that are joining them are Luna and Aisha, who huddled together. How do you feel about this operation? Aisha asked Luna. Well, this operation is pretty large scale, Luna said. The most important function in this mission is pure solid coordination. So, let's get the job done. Luna nodded in agreement. Suddenly, Tarot Chariot received an alert from her magic card in between her fingers. White Queen's team is moving, Tarot Chariot cried out. Everyone knows the plan. Split up and evacuate residents by every block. Let's move. Tarot Chariot, Luna, Aisha, Morganite, Nefertari, the Roulette Twins, and the Shirobara Quartet sprinted over the tall tower and headed towards evacuating the citizens. It's finally starting, Luna thought. At the same time, White Queen and her squad proceeded with a mission and raided the warehouse. A squad of synthezoids suddenly showed up and charged forward with morphing weapons as their arms. But Amazonite instantly disabled the synthezoids with psychokinetic energy, allowing Black King and Zodiac Moon to destroy all of them with their quirks in an instant. Stardust, you, Chakra, and the Shatrix scouted ahead for Deku. White Queen ordered the Shatrix. No doubt this area may become a battlefield. We're on it, Selene nodded. Selene, Diana, Estrella, Solaria, Comet, Lilith, and Selena sprinted forward, leaving White Queen and the rest of her squad behind. Dr. Deku walked casually down the hallway. Things are progressing nicely, Dr. Deku said with a proud grin. Empress Oriana will be in her full strength with a surprise gift I've made for her. Oh, I can't wait. Dr. Garaki's work will be nothing compared to mine. I won't count on it. Dr. Deku stopped walking with a gasp. He quickly turned his head around to see White Queen and her squad walking up towards him. He stared at the heroes with a horrified expression. It didn't take him long enough to know that the heroes are here to arrest him and stop the Coven's plan of conquest. So, you must be the Synthezoid's creator and the Amarante Coven's technological scientist. Accept your fate and surrender. White Queen demanded. Dr. Deku glared in anger at the unexpected appearance of the heroes. Both of his hands began to glow in bright cyan energy. Before he can have a chance to strike, Amazonite immobilized him with her psychokinetic energy. As expected, you offered every advanced technology to Oriana and one of her daughters as well as the Shatrix. White Queen noted. That also must be how you artificially created Shigaraki's clone Nico. Isn't that right? Dr. Deku stared at the heroes with a fierce glare. I'll have to admit, having the expertise of robotics and cloning is pretty amazing. Zodiac Moon admitted as she placed her hands on her hips. Imagine the world of science reunite with evolution. Vondergeist then walked up in front of Dr. Deku. From the schematics we've been able to capture, your synthezoids are programmed to follow orders from your commands. And without you, they are nothing but empty toys. Vondergeist said. To prepare to fight the synthezoids, we have to secure the source. Meanwhile, the police force began reporting the current status from 4 teams inside the police HQ message control center. Team Endeavor has entered the Jaku hospital. Eraserhead used erasure on Garaki's quirk and they captured him. Patient evacuation is at 97%. A policewoman reported. Team Edgeshot is getting close to Gunga Mountain Villa. There's no movement by the enemy and no counterattack. A policeman added. At Jaku Hospital, Mirko's gone ahead and has just entered a secret path from the morgue. Another policewoman spoke. Team Morganite has entered the Nabu Armory. Amazonite captured Dr. Deku with her quirk. Another policeman added. Team Chariot is under civilian evacuation. Also, no movement nor counterattack from the enemy. Stardust, Chakra, and the Shatrix have entered a secret path from the chamber room inside the Nabu Armory. The third policeman stated. Back in the warehouse, Dr. Deku looked down at the floor in silence from Amazonite's psychokinetic grasp. Why so quiet? No big talk from the Coven's greatest scientist? Black King asked with heavy sarcasm. While Selene, Diana, and the Shatrix busted their way through the chamber room, they suddenly came across a horde of synthezoids swarming in their path. Mother, we've got incoming. There's synthezoids everywhere, Selene reported to White Queen through her earpiece. What? White Queen exclaimed through her earpiece. Just then, a synthezoid with mechanical upper arms suddenly emerged from the floor. It swiftly snatched Dr. Deku from Amazonite's psychokinetic clutches. White Queen and her squad looked equally shockingly stunned. You may have figured out my involvement with my synthezoids in the Amarante Coven, but it's a good thing I've created a backup plan. Dr. Deku commented. He took out a grayish-white octahedral device in her hand and twisted the device in 180-degree position. The device glowed bright cyan and floated above Dr. Deku. It opened a bright cyan oval-shaped portal, ascending the scientist through it. I'll leave my robots to take care of you provoking heroes. The Shatrix's teleportation device. He's been planning this all along, White Queen exclaimed. Then, The device then fell onto Dr. Daku's palm and instantly closed the portal. The muscular synthezoid started charging forward. He transformed his arms into razor-sharp blades and proceeded to attack the heroes. But Black King stopped the robot by engulfing his hands together in black aura and firing black energy blasts that blew up the synthezoids into pieces from one punch after another. Then suddenly, more muscular synthezoids started swarming around inside the mansion halls, alerting White Queen and her squad at the same time. Black King, White Queen, Zodiac Moon, Amazonite, and Vondergeist summoned their quirks with fierce determination. Meanwhile, Dr. Daku arrived inside the chamber room down below the warehouse. I've been so absorbed with my latest technological inventions that I've left everything else to my elite synthezoids, Dr. Daku said to himself. Forgive me, Empress, but those provoking heroes are invading this warehouse as we speak. Dr. Daku sped over to his desk and started packing every invented technology and formula journals into his suitcase. Everything's packed in this suitcase is not only my life's work, but the happy days I shared with the Amarante Coven, Dr. Daku said with a pressurized look on his face. In the meanwhile, Selene, Diana, and the Shatrix effortlessly blasted and tore through every synthezoids that was coming in their way. Out of the girls, Diana and Celeria were having the time of their lives with fierce smiles on their faces. Then suddenly, Selene, Diana, and the Shatrix broke into the chamber room that completely destroyed the double doors. They moved their heads to Dr. Daku's direction. Diana and Celeria's smiles grew wider. "What's up, Doc? Miss us?" Celeria greeted. Dr. Daku responded with a horror glare on his face. Diana and Celeria's smiles grew wider, while Selene, Estrella, Lilith, Comet, and Selena narrowed their eyes at Dr. Daku. "What's up, Doc? Miss us?" Celeria greeted. Dr. Daku responded with a horror glare on his face. "Everyone, we've found Daku ready for capture," Selene reported through her earpiece. White Queen and her squad are forced to fight off every charging cyberbot with their quirks. Capture him at all cost. White Queen reported back to Selene through her earpiece. "We're preoccupied right now, but we'll head over soon." Amazonite immobilized all the synthezoids in position with her psychokinetic energy, allowing the rest of the pro-heroes to take them out in sight. White Queen surrounded herself with a blazingly white aura and effortlessly slashed the synthezoids with swift force fields. Zodiac Moon blew a golden yellow kiss that created a Gemini constellation in front of her and ran through the constellation, transforming herself into two individual twins of herself with a Gemini symbol on their opposite cheeks. Both twins summoned a Gemini symbol and launched out rapid yellow energy bullets at the synthezoids. Black King surrounded himself with blazingly black aura and blew up every synthezoid with black energy blasts from his hands. Vondergeist flew through every synthezoid in his ghostly body, disrupting the robot's circuity in an explosion one by one. "If you see any synthezoids with him, just go all out until we get there," White Queen ordered through her earpiece. "Roger that," Selene said from White Queen's earpiece. Meanwhile, Luna arrived at her respective position with Aisha. They are currently assigned to evacuate the citizens before the villains' preparation to strike the city and harm the civilians. Calling all logistical support teams. Tarot Chariot called to her squad through her magic card as she stood on top of her hovering magic card over the city. Team White Queen is engaging the villain inside the warehouse. Town Hall has sent an evacuation advisory to the phones of nearby residents. "Everyone, start evacuating your assigned areas." "Roger, Mom," Luna said with a nod. She placed the magic card into her pocket and turned to Aisha. "Aisha, you headed to the houses, and I'll head over to the condos." "Got it." Aisha nodded. Luna ran off as Aisha soared away to the opposite direction in the sky. Back in the chamber room, Selene, Diana, and the Shatrix charged straight towards Daku with determined looks on their faces. "Let's see if you're up for a challenge of beating us, Doc," Celeria shouted. We're really going to enjoy beating the crud out of you, Diana yelled. Dr. Deku only grimaced with pure anger. As much as he wants to activate his quirk, he needs to protect his valuable research at all cost. He then pulled out a phone-shaped device out of his lab coat, which was something that caught the Shatrix's attention. I won't let all of the hard work go to waste, Dr. Deku shouted. He pressed a green button on the screen. Iron Maidens, assemble and eliminate those irritable intruders. Just before Celeria and Diana could make contact with Deku, Artemis suddenly came out of nowhere and kicked the girls away from her creator. That sudden attack sent Celeria and Diana crushing into the wall. Celeria, Estrella, Comet, Lilith, and Selena shouted. Chakra, Selene shouted. Selene, Estrella, Comet, Lilith, and Selena rushed forward to help Diana and Celeria. But Aphrodite and Athena launched themselves in front of them before the girls could reach their allies. Cressida, Calliope, Thalia, and Astheno dropped by as their eyes glowed brightly. They proceeded to strike Selene and the Shatrix in sight with zooming speed. But Selene and the Shatrix scattered out of the way. Selene covered her whole body in stellar energy and launched herself at Calliope in a full-body tackle at high speed. The Shatrix fired off a large combination of green, purple, orange, and pink striped energy sphere that exploded the rest of the Iron Maidens in an explosion. But the Iron Maidens managed to recover without a single dent and started circling around Selene and the Shatrix with their energized hands. Dr. Deku ran up to the elevator. He turned to his robotic creations in hopes that they would distract the girls long enough for his escape. I'm counting on you, Iron Maidens, Dr. Deku said to the Iron Maidens. Roger, Dr. Deku. The Iron Maidens nodded. With that, the elevator began to descend out of sight with Dr. Deku on it. However, Celeria and Diana aren't down for the count. They rose up from the crater of the wall. Like we'd let you escape, Doc, Diana said. We're just getting warmed up. Diana, as much as I wanted to kick Deku's ass, you and Selene should go after him, Celeria said. My sisters and I will handle the robots. We're counting on you too. With a nod, Diana manifested her entire body in an orange aura and flew over to grab Selene's arms in midair. She then soared speedily above the Iron Maidens and immediately headed for the elevator. Let's get his ass, girl, Diana grinned. You don't have to tell me twice, Selene grinned back. The Iron Maidens began charging after Diana and Selene. But Celeria and the Shatrix quickly stood in their way, allowing their allies to smash through the elevator. You toys aren't going anywhere, Selena grinned. You still got us to deal with. Meanwhile, Deku finally reached his own chamber room. The entire chamber room was flanked by dozens of elite synthezoids behind him. As ordered, no one gets into this room, Deku ordered. No one interferes. I need to collect all of my research no matter what. The elite synthezoids obeyed with glowing eyes. The Shatrix continued fighting off against the Iron Maidens. Comet, little help, Selena shouted as she ran up to Comet. I'm on it, Comet said. As Selena jumped up, Comet grabbed her little sister's hands and swung her around, kicking each Iron Maidens that surrounded them all at once. Celeria sprinted forward towards Artemis, Athena, and Thalia. She somersaulted over them and launched 3 large red energy orbs at them, instantly sending them to fall to the ground. Lilith was enjoying the challenge of the fight. She did swift flips off the backs of Calliope and Astheno, as she then launched an all-out attack of purple energy spheres on the robots. Estrella cartwheeled between Aphrodite and Cressida by using grace and poise. She drew 4 large green spheres across the chests of the 2 robots and succeeded in blasting them all in a large explosion. The Shatrix stood together as the Iron Maidens recovered again and stood from different directions. Are you girls ready to break more toys? Selena asked with a wicked smile. You better believe it, sis. Lilith grinned. We can't let them reach Selene and Diana, Celeria said. Meanwhile, The police force began reporting another status update from 4 teams inside the police HQ message control center. The Garaki we captured looks to be a fake, a policewoman reported. The Garaki that Mirko is chasing appears to be the real one, a policeman added. Endeavor is engaged in fighting Nomus on the group floor. Another policewoman spoke. A number of high ends have been confirmed. Team Edshot is about to begin the clean sweep of Gunga Villa. Another policeman added. Team White Queen are engaging in fighting synthezoids on the second floor. The third policeman added. The number of synthezoids have been confirmed as well. Stardust and Chakra are pursuing Dr. Deku, who escaped into another room. The Shatrix are currently taking out another squad of cyberbots. The third policewoman stated. The synthezoids had proved to be too tough for the heroes to defeat with their quirks. No matter how hard they destroyed them, most of them just kept on coming. But Amazonite soared above the heroes and extended her arms out, successfully grabbing the entire synthezoids all at once with her psychokinesis. She then blasted them all away from both hands, knocking the robots out and causing them to explode on the walls and the ground. Thanks, Amazonite, Zodiac Moon said, giving the psychic hero a thumb up. Amazonite nodded as she descended next to her husband. I think that's the left of them, Black King said. The robots, yes, but we have an incoming, White Queen stated as she detected a living aura in the area. It's a human. 4 of them. White Queen, Black King, Zodiac Moon, Amazonite, and Vondergeist turned to the sound of loud clapping. Zirkin started marching his way from the shadows. Behind him were Titania, Triton, and Galadia. Wow, you heroes are pretty strong, Zirkin admitted with a grin. But the fun is just getting started. I'll be your opponent today, and I'm going to enjoy it. Zirkin, Titania, Triton, and Galadia started to charge forward towards the heroes. Meanwhile, the police force began reporting another status update from 4 teams inside the police HQ message control center. Team Edge Shot's advance guard has taken control of the villa. A policewoman reported. 3 squads are sealing off the hall's exits to the surface. A policeman added. Everyone watched the video of pro heroes shutting off the exit doors with their quirks. Exits have been sealed, the policeman said. The only surface exit left is in the villa's main building. Another policewoman spoke. Team White Queen is now engaging in fighting a shadowy villain named Zirkin. Another policeman stated. Must be one of Deku's 6 sages. Hello, Amazonite? Zirkin said darkly. Miss me? Zirkin snapped his fingers and Titania, Triton, Galadia, and a group of elite synthezoids arrived in the room. Synthezoids, Titania, Triton, Galadia, keep the heroes busy, Zirkin ordered. With pleasure. Galadia grinned sinisterly. Titania, Triton, Galadia, and the elite synthezoids charged forward after the pro heroes, leaving Zirkin to speed straight for Amazonite. As the elite synthezoids charged forward, Black King and White Queen jumped up high in the air. White Queen threw 5 white force fields to attack 5 elite synthezoids before swiftly backflipping away from another elite synthezoid's morphic curved blades. Black King swiftly dodged away from 3 elite synthezoids' large mace heads. He then unleashed a barrage of black energy blasts at the elite synthezoids from both hands. Triton appeared behind Black King and conjured several droplets of water into the air before firing them straight at him as solid blades. But Black King avoided the water blades and attacked Triton with his large black energy blast. Titania began striking Zodiac Moon with her barrage of fireballs, while Galadia sent out large rocks off the ground towards the heroine. But Zodiac Moon kept avoiding their attacks and fired golden energy bullets at the villainesses in her Gemini form. 5 elite synthezoids began attacked the intangible Vondergeist in a circle with their morphic drills. But Vondergeist phased his hands and disrupted the elite synthezoids one by one, causing them to short-circuit and explode to the ground. Titania, Triton, and Galatea quickly recovered and sprang up high in the air as they began blasting their quirk at the pro-heroes from different directions. With a sweeping motion, Zircon unleashed several dark energy tendrils from his shadow straight towards Amazonite. But Amazonite slashed each energy tendril with her glowing psychokinetic hands. The psychic heroine and the dark villain kept firing their quirks towards each other at high speed, while focusing on the timing of all of each other's moves at the same time. After all these years, I've found you, Zircon said. If only our daughter could see you now. You took Kyra away from me, Amazonite said. You took her and raised her to become an assassin, all because of your pathetic vendetta. Zircon's eyes narrowed and unleashed waves of dark energy from his hands at Amazonite, who shielded herself with her psychokinetic energy. Rhina and Estrella got back on their feet, while looking beaten and battered from Tarot Chariot's attack. Not so easy, huh? Estrella said with a devious smirk. We may be beaten, but we're up and ready for another round. Don't worry, Karina, we'll take it from here, Rhina shouted. Failures. Total waste of failures, Karina said with closed eyes. Huh? Rhina and Estrella asked with confused eyebrows. Suddenly, the radiating power augmentation patches started growing more intense from Rhina and Estrella's foreheads. Tarot Chariot turned her head to notice the patches oozing around the Shatrix sisters, causing them to scream out in agony while collapsing on their knees in unbearable pain. Tarot Chariot and Nico were completely stunned by the unexpected betrayal. What the? Tarot Chariot exclaimed in utter shock. She turned back to Karina. What are you doing to them? They were supposed to be on your side. They were, Karina replied. But not anymore. It was only a matter of time. Karina, Rhina scowled with a glare. What the hell is the meaning of this? Estrella demanded. Did you really believe that I thought you two and your sisters as equals to the Coven? Karina questioned. You four and the other two are just worthless pawns for my service. At least, Aurora has proven herself to be useful once in a while. After your constant failures, I implanted a fail-safe into the power augmentation patches in case you four failed me again. Her eyes fixated on the glowing patches on Estrella and Rhina's foreheads. Right now, the patches will destroy the Shatrix. So, I have no need for them anymore. Estrella and Rhina gasped in utter tremor as they realized that they were betrayed by Karina, and now they are trapped in a high level of unimaginable pain. Damn you, Karina, Estrella yelled. You were just using us and our sisters this whole time, Rhina roared. Karina unleashed 2 yellow energy beams from her fingers at Estrella and Rhina. But Tarot Chariot dashed right in front of the Shatrix sisters and produced a powerful magic card shield around herself, Estrella, and Rhina. Aurora gasped, shockingly with wide eyes, once the projection video ended from Coppelia's eyes. I can't believe it, Aurora said in disbelief. Rhina stood behind Aurora with a stern face. I'm sorry you have to find out this way, but it's the truth, Rhina explained. Since then, our sisters have been hiding with Tarot Chariot. Lilith and Comet agreed to work with Chariot when she visited them. I chose to provide top-secret information for her. I've been keeping an eye on you at all times, so I won't give you any extra time with your quirk. Aurora collapsed on her knees. She couldn't believe Karina would harm her own sisters to the close point to death. I thought we were equals, Aurora spoke. After everything, she treated us like trash. Even though she praised me, it still wasn't right for you and the rest of our sisters. But it's too late, Aurora, Rhina said, placing her hand on Aurora's shoulder. You can make a fresh start. Atone for your crimes and start over. I'll even help you start over. It's never too late to change. A fresh start? Aurora repeated slowly. Then suddenly, the door exploded with dark energy that engulfed the entire room. Aurora, Rhina, and Coppelia stared at the source of that attack. Nightshade, Opalite, and Charon slowly walked into the room. No need to explain further, Rhina, Nightshade stated. I heard it loud and clear. Didn't notice me, did you? You made a mistake sneaking back in and concealing your loyalty, traitor. You're acting like you already knew that I'd betray you. But tell me, how did you figure me out? Rhina asked with narrow eyes. There was nothing to figure out, Nightshade replied. I never trusted you from that start, especially after what happened to you and your sisters. Rhina glared at Nightshade. How sad, Nightshade said mockingly. But you know the saying, every action has consequences. Nightshade and Opalite activated their quirk as Rhina did the same thing. Before Nightshade and Opalite can strike, multiple beams of wind energy were suddenly fired and attacked them out of nowhere. Rhina and Aurora looked stunned as they watched Nightshade and Opalite flying to the wall from the right side of the room. Their eyes moved to Charon, who ran over to Rhina and Aurora. Come on, we're getting out of here, Charon said. But unfortunately, the elite synthezoids came into the room and surrounded Rhina, Aurora, Charon, and Capelia with morphic weapons. Capelia, combat mode, Rhina ordered. Combat mode activated. Capelia nodded. As Capelia charged towards the elite synthezoids, Opalite pushed herself off the floor while helping Nightshade up on her feet. They glared at Charon for his unexpected betrayal. Another traitor? Opalite exclaimed. Sorry, ladies, nothing personal. Charon replied with a casual shrug. The elite synthezoids surrounded Rhina, Aurora, Capelia, and Charon. Nightshade and Opalite walked up when two elite synthezoids moved aside. I suspected Rhina to betray us, but not you, Charon, Nightshade said to Charon. But that doesn't even surprise me. You were always too broodingly rebellious. But then again, when my father and I joined the Coven, we honestly never cared about the Empresses nor their cause from the start. Nightshade created a massive wave of umbrakinetic energy that blasted Rhina and Charon straight out of the laboratory and into a large room. Rhina, Charon, Aurora shouted. Aurora rushed to help her sister and Charon, but Opalite launched two large light energy bolts in front of her before she could reach the exit. Why waste saving the traitor when you can battle me? Opalite grinned. Opalite charged two light energy bolts from both hands and sped forward at full speed. Rhina and Charon recovered as they got back up on their feet. Nightshade landed towards Rhina and Charon with a cruel smile. You know, I couldn't find out any personal histories on you and your father from the moment I returned to the Coven. Rhina told Nightshade. But your father once mentioned that he only joined the Coven to get revenge on Amazonite. That's true, Charon said. He then added a mocking tone in his voice. What did the psychic hero ever do to you? All right then. You deserved that at least, Nightshade said with a smirk. According to my father, she killed my mother Asita. Nightshade's answer made Rhina's eyes widen wide in utter shock. The psychic hero killed Nightshade's mother. That doesn't make any sense at all. But the name Rosita sounds very familiar to Rhina. No, you're wrong, Rhina said. Amazonite will never kill an innocent. I don't care what you say. It's the truth, Nightshade declared. And I will carry out my father's will to end her life to avenge my mother. Nightshade activated her quirk to construct a katana sword made of umbrakinetic energy in her hands. Goodbye, friends, Nightshade said in a sarcastic tone in her voice. With that, Nightshade charged forward towards Rhina and Charon at full speed as she swung her katana sword with an enraged shout. Meanwhile, the police force began reporting another status update from 4 teams inside the police HQ message control center. Team Edgeshot has sealed off all 5 of the remaining passages to the underground at Gunga Villa. A policeman reported. Team Endeavor is eliminating the Nomus inside the hospital one after another. A policewoman added. Everyone watched the image of the Jakku hospital. Mirko is still fighting the High-End's Nomus in the underground research lab, another policewoman said. Endeavor is heading over to help Mirko. Another policeman spoke. Team White Queen are still engaging in fighting Daku's Ultra Guards. The third policeman stated. Stardust and Chakra have located Daku. The Shatrix kept fighting the Iron Maidens with everything they got. OMG, Selena gasped. Daku made robot copies of us? Comet said with wide eyes. The Iron Maidens charged forward to strike the Shatrix, who immediately scattered away. Stheno, Calliope, and Thalia surrounded Lilith and Comet as they started delivering punches and kicks at them. But Comet and Lilith evaded their attacks and leaped in the air above them. Comet and Lilith then conjured a large ball of orange and purple energy from one hand before throwing them at Stheno, Calliope, and Thalia that hit them all at once. Aphrodite and Athena delivered rapid kicks at Estrella, while Artemis delivered fast punches at Celeria. But Estrella and Celeria evaded with fast speed, as they both released a stream of green and red energy spheres from their hands that hit 3 Iron Maidens at great force. Selena spun herself around and fired multiple bolts of pink energy at Cressida that detonated powerfully around her. That doesn't matter. This is going to be way more fun than Daku's weaker toys, Celeria said. Selene and Diana sprinted forward until they finally caught up to Daku in his other lab chamber. Nowhere to run now, Doc, Diana shouted. You're too late, Daku said. Daku snapped his fingers. Just before Selene and Diana can reach Daku, a large squad of elite synthezoids came out of nowhere and began striking the girls with morphic weapons. There's nothing you can do to stop my robots, nor my Empress's dream, Daku declared. But Diana and Selene refused to give up. Well, as smart as you claim to be, you're obviously forgetting one thing. Heroes will definitely never give up, Diana hollered. Diana unleashed a red energy blast, while spinning herself rapidly that blew up the elite synthezoids around her. Selene summoned extremely powerful, star-like orbs above her, and sent them at the elite synthezoids one by one in every direction before converging on them all at once in large explosions with tremendous force. Diana sprang high in the air above the rest of the elite synthezoids. She then transformed into her rainbow form. I took my time on this new move, Diana thought. Make it count. Daku's eyes widened wide at the rainbow Diana, knowing exactly what she was about to do. Selene stopped attacking and looked up at Diana before moving away. Stop! Daku yelled as he extended his arms out to activate his quirk. But it was too late. Diana unleashed large bolts of aura energy, emitting in a different color of a rainbow that drove Daku and the elite synthezoids to the ground. Diana landed on the floor as she and Selene had finally finished destroying the elite synthezoids. Is that all of them? Diana asked while taking deep breaths. 2 final elite synthezoids rose behind Diana. But Selene blasted the robots into pieces with her quirk and saved her friend at the same time. Now we are, Selene said. You may have stopped me and destroyed my robots, but you cannot stop Oriana's dream. Daku spat angrily. This is what I was living for. Selene ran up to Daku and swiftly kicked him in the face, knocking him out to the floor. And you're finished, Selene said with a stern face. Meanwhile, Tarot Chariot suddenly found herself in a strange realm. The entire realm carried a very calm and serene atmosphere along with gray walls and a translucent, metallic-looking white floor. This place. Is this? Tarot Chariot thought. Tarot Chariot turned her head, and her eyes widened in surprise. She saw a hazy vision of herself angrily smashing the window out of frustration with her fist. She then saw another hazy vision of herself being locked away in the room while crying in heavy tears. Her eyes moved to another hazy vision of herself severely destroying the family temple with her divine trinity. Hello, Ursula. Tarot Chariot's eyes widened with a sharp gasp. She turned around to see Oriana standing across from her. Mother. Taro Chariot spoke with narrow eyes. It's been a long time since Japan was once in an ancient era. It sure has, my dear. Oriana said with a greeting smile. Now, that you're alive after all this time. Stop! Taro Chariot interrupted with a shout. I already know why you're here, Mother. I've already chosen my path. I will never go back to you or your coven. I'm a hero, and that's all there is to it. Oh, I see, Oriana said. That's a shame. First, my absent granddaughter. And now, you. I guess I wouldn't be surprised. Especially when you're trying so hard to stop us. The heroes are invading your mansion as we speak, Taro Chariot said. And once they reach you and my sisters, they will stop you with everything they got. Are you sure about that? Oriana asked with a sly smile. Have you ever heard of the Trojan horse? Taro Chariot's eyes widened even wider, as if she quickly understood what her mother was talking about. In the real world, Taro Chariot felt a sudden jolt of energy around her brain. But she isn't the only one who felt it. At the same time, Luna's eyes widened with a shocking gasp. Inside the police HQ message control center, the police force began reporting another current status update from 4 teams. Checking with Team Endeavor to confirm the status of Jaku hospital evacuations. A policewoman reported. Some of the heroes stationed there are still combating lower-level Namu on the ground floor. Everyone watched 4 different teams roaming within the Jaku hospital and Nabu mansion. Mirko's encountered multiple talking-type Namu underground where Garaki's hiding. A policeman added. Endeavor, Crust, and a few other team members are rushing to support her. Another policewoman said. The hospital evacuations are complete. The building is completed. The pros who've been aiding in the process will join the fight. Another policeman spoke. We have the upper hand. The enemies who appeared at the surface level are falling rapidly. The third policeman stated. Team White Queen is also still fighting Zirkin and the synthezoids on the surface floor. The fourth policeman announced. 2 UA students located Daku's hiding chamber, while the Shatrix encountered Daku's robots underground. Now, the UA students are on their way to assist the Shatrix. The third policewoman added. Meanwhile, Taro Chariot kept observing the city through her magic cards, while standing on her hovering magic card. Down below, Morganite, Nefertari, the Roulette Twins, Luna, Aisha, and the Shirobara Quartet continued evacuating the citizens. If there's anyone here with limited mobility or hasn't been able to connect with somebody, don't be afraid to let us know, Morganite shouted. There's a high chance that this whole neighborhood could become a counter-villain battlefield, Nefertari added. The police vans will take you away from the city, Aisha shouted. Thank you for your work, Miss Lady. A little boy said with a smile as he looked up at Aisha. He then handed a swirl lollipop to Aisha. Here, have a lollipop. Oh, thank you for your generosity. Aisha smiled back. The Roulette Twins stood on the edge of a building rooftop. This is the Roulette Twins. The 6th ward is completely cleared. Callista announced through the magic card. The Shirobara Quartet stood on another building rooftop. The evacuation is done from where we are, Sapphire reported through the magic card. Just to be sure no citizen has been left behind, we're going to have to check and double-check every nursing home and apartment building. Ematrine stated as she looked at the magic card in her hand. Remain calm at all times, Morganite called out to the departing civilians. Once you're in the police vans, it will take you to the shelter outside the city until it's safe to know you're eligible to return. Please don't hesitate to notify your medical condition too, Luna spoke. Suddenly, Luna gasped sharply as she felt a sudden jolt of energy around her brain. She gritted her teeth and clutched her head with both hands, making her kneel one knee on the ground. Aisha quickly took notice, making her run up to Luna with a worried face. Luna, what's wrong? Aisha asked. Are you okay? Luna. Huh. Is that Aunt Ariella? Luna murmured with a gasp. It's been a long time since we contacted each other. Listen, Luna, I don't have enough time, Ariella warned. You and the rest of the heroes must run right now. All I know is that Oriana's plans will be unleashed from Naboo Mansion. But you must escape no matter what. With bewildering eyes, Luna turned her head and looked over to the direction of the Naboo Mansion. Back at the Naboo Mansion, Rhina and Charon struggled to stand up on their feet. Earlier, they kept firing their quirks at Nightshade with high-speed movements, but they found themselves no match against her quirk, nor her remarkable speed. Nightshade stood in front of them with a dangerous smile. Awa, getting tired already? That was just a warm-up. Nightshade mocked. Her eyes narrowed with a dangerous glint. Now, here comes the real fun. Nightshade unleashed a massive wave of umbrokinetic energy from both hands at Rhina and Charon. But Capella landed in front of Rhina and Charon out of nowhere. Sitting on the marionette robot's right shoulder was Aurora. Capella's eyes glowed and generated a blue orb of energy around herself, Aurora, Rhina, and Charon for protection. Nightshade's umbrokinetic waves were cancelled against Capella's force field. Then, Capella dropped the force field. Rhina? Charon? Are you guys okay? Aurora asked. We're good. Charon replied with a thumbs up. You can't be serious, Aurora. Nightshade said. Your sister betrayed you and the Coven, and you're going to take her side after everything. You said it yourself. You don't care about the Coven, so why should I after everything I've done to help the empresses I served? Aurora retorted. And besides, not only did I get the inside scoop on Oriana and her plans, but your father's too. Rhina added. My father? What about him? Nightshade asked. He lied to you about your mother. Rhina answered. Spare me with your lies. I'm not interested. Nightshade said. Amazonite has ruined me and my father, and our lives. Are you sure about that? Rhina questioned. I've been keeping tabs on him ever since he sent Deku's first synthezoid after Aisha in Fukuoka. Not to mention that you and Opalite sent the modified synthezoids to ambush her and her family. Since then, Zircon's vendetta with Amazonite and Aisha got me intrigued. After doing some research, the truth has left me nothing but flabbergasted. Your mother's name is Reseda. But you know her as Amazonite, your real mother. Aurora and Charon's eyes widened in pure shock. Rhina pulled out a high-tech flash drive out of her belt. And if you still don't believe me, I got this drive to back me up. Rhina added. Rhina tossed to Nightshade, who caught it in her hand and looked down at it. In the cloaking aircraft, Oriana, Karina, and Ariella sat on their throne chairs as they watched two holographic monitor screens that projected two separate battles within Naboo Mansion. One monitor screen showed White Queen, Black King, Zodiac Moon, Vondergeist, and Amazonite continuing to launch their quirks at Zircon, Titania, Triton, Galadia, and the elite synthezoids. The other monitor screen showed the Shatrix battling tirelessly against the Iron Maidens. It would seem that both sides of the battle are equally tied at the moment. Karina stated. No matter. Oriana said. With Ursula and Luna elsewhere, we can prepare for Deku's final creation to our advantage. Karina and Ariella traded confused faces. What are you talking about, Mother? Ariella asked. When Oriana snapped her fingers, a large mechanical hand suddenly came up behind Oriana's throne chair. It was accelerated in glowing white energy from behind. Karina and Ariella's eyes widened in complete shock. Wait, is that? Karina said with a shocked face. Indeed, Karina, Oriana replied. Deku managed to create a modified version after you failed to excel the full capabilities of this brilliant technology. Now, it's time to begin a test run. With a wicked smile, Oriana snapped her fingers again, commanding the mechanical hand to disappear and reappear underneath Naboo Mansion. At that moment, the mechanical hand grew giant, and its palm began to glow intensely. White Queen, Black King, Zodiac Moon, Vondergeist, and Amazonite kept unleashing their quirks against Zircon, Titania, Triton, Galadia, and the elite synthezoids with everything they got and vice versa on the villain's side. But White Queen halted as she quickly detected a machine-like aura under the mansion. Her eyes looked down just in time to see the floor crackling towards the nearby wall with white energy. "Everyone, fall back," White Queen shouted. "We have to get out of here." Suddenly, an enormous white energy beam bursted out of the floor. The heroes and the villains stopped fighting to stare at the white energy beam with wide, shocking eyes. One by one, more white energy beams came erupting out of the ground. "We have to go. Fall back," White Queen yelled. "Vondergeist, go find the girls," Amazonite shouted to Vondergeist. With a quick nod, Vondergeist quickly became intangible and phased through the floor. Amazonite enveloped White Queen, Black King, and Zodiac Moon as she speedily flew her way out of the mansion. "You have to go now," Galadia shouted. "You don't have to tell me twice," Zircon shouted back. Zircon quickly opened up his shadow under his feet, spreading towards Titania, Triton, and Galadia. He hurriedly engulfed himself and his comrades into a large orb of darkness before transporting out of the mansion. The Shatrix and the Iron Maidens began scattering and evading the white energy beams that kept bursting from the floor one by one. Vondergeist charged in the underground area and quickly grabbed the Shatrix. He then sped forward and located Selene, Diana, and Deku before grabbing them and phasing through the walls that led them outside away from the mansion. With no way to escape, the elite synthezoids and the Iron Maidens got blasted by the white energy beams, destroying them upon contact. Luna's eyes widened in complete shock as her gaze fixated on the direction of the Nabu mansion. "The mansion," Luna muttered. Aisha, Morganite, Nefertari, the Roulette Twins, the Shirobara Quartet, and Tarot Chariot quickly and shockingly turned their heads to watch the massive white energy beam envelop the entire Nabu mansion, completely scorching the secluded manor into black smokes of and rubble and ashes. "Oh my God," Morganite murmured. She was planning to incinerate both the heroes and her allies from the start. Tarot Chariot exclaimed. Tarot Chariot gasped sharply when her shocking eyes grew wider at the sight of the Jakku General Hospital. The entire hospital began to crumble and break apart from both inside and out. The presence of the disintegration then started spreading out of the hospital and quickly traveled down the hill straight into the city, destroying all the surrounding buildings and areas in its path. Also, a group of heroes instantly ended up disintegrating upon contact. "Everyone, get out of here right now," Tarot Chariot called through her magic card as she quickly soared away on her flying card. "It's Shigaraki's decay. If his power touches you, you'll die. No matter what, grab the citizens and head out away from the area." Tomura's decay continued spreading its devastation throughout the city, deteriorating every building, vehicle, and everything else upon contact before rapidly heading its way toward the evacuation team. "You heard Chariot. Let's move," Morganite commanded urgently. "We're on it," Nefertari, the Roulette Twins, and the Shirobara Quartet nodded. "Everyone, run as fast as you can," Luna exclaimed as she hastily sprinted towards the impending shockwave of Tomura's decay. Luna activated Dazzling Trinity, igniting pink triquetra tattoo like marks all over her arms and legs. As she leaped into the air, she lifted her 2 fingers from both hands and produced a bolt of pink energy above the tips. She moved her finger in a circular motion and reproduced it into 5 triquetra-shaped energy bolts before launching them all towards the decay shockwave at full force. But the decay shockwave endured Luna's attack and unwaveringly advanced forward. It had no effect. Luna exclaimed with wide eyes. "At this rate, it gotta keep tearing this whole town apart." Aisha then soared forward and positioned next to Luna. She lifted both hands and halted the decay shockwave with her psychokinesis. aiming to halt the relentless advance of the decay wave. However, she's finding herself struggling to hold back the decay shockwave with all of her strength. The wave is too strong. I won't be able to hold it back much longer, Aisha yelled through my gritted teeth. But this doesn't make any sense, Luna cried out in a state of shock. Midoriya told me that Shigaraki can only disintegrate organic or inorganic with all 5 of his fingers. If this is really Shigaraki's doing, then how did his quirk get so strong like this? It's no use trying and stop the wave. We have to move now, Morganite hollered, turning her head at Luna and Aisha. With a frustrated sigh, Aisha removed her quirk from the decay shockwave and soared away with Luna. Even though the devastating decay shockwave kept intensifying, Taro Chariot and her evacuation team began taking as many civilians with them while running away from the deadly seismic wave as quickly as possible. Aisha swiftly enveloped civilians with her psychokinesis through the air while propelling herself forward. The Shirobara Quartet and the Roulette twins rode on the flying magic cards with teens and young adults by their side. Nefertari held 2 children protectively in her arms on the flying magic card. Morganite and Luna used their quirks to lift and carry evacuation buses filled with civilians from the imminent danger. Meanwhile, several monitor screens began distorting one by one within the police HQ message control center. "Tell us what's going on," the policeman demanded. "Why are the feed disappearing?" another policeman questioned. "I don't know. No one's responding to us," the policewoman answered. "The source of disruption appears to be coming from Jaku Hospital," the third policeman added. "Given what we saw, we're projecting a large number of casualties," another policewoman informed. "I want any information you can get," the higher-ranking police officer commanded. "Yes, sir," one of the policewomen said. "This is unacceptable. What in the world is going on?" the higher-ranking police officer inquired. From above, Taro Chariot watched as Tomura's decay shockwave carried on its destruction that looked like almost a third of Jaku City. "White Queen, are you there? Please respond," Taro Chariot called through her magic card. "Chariot, we're alive and safe," White Queen spoke. "Oh, thank goodness," Taro Chariot said with a relieved sigh. "I'm so glad you're okay. Where are you now?" "On the highest hill, somewhat close to the Nabu mansion," White Queen responded. White Queen stood on a grassy hill along with Black King, Zodiac Moon, Amazonite, Vondergeist, the Shatrix, Selene, and Diana. Behind them were Capelia, Aurora, Rhina, Charon, and an unconscious Deku. They all collectively stared at the horrifying decay shockwave with astonished expressions on their faces. All that time and effort into preparing and planning this assault, and the villains got the upper hand. Taro Chariot thought as she stared at the city in horror. Back in the cloaking aircraft, Karina and Ariella looked on the monitor screen with stunned faces from their throne chairs. Oriana's face was completely unfazed once the large mechanical hand returned back behind her throne chair. Earlier, they witnessed the devastating aftermath of the Nabu mansion, but they weren't prepared for the overwhelming boost of Tomura's decay. They all watched the monitor screen that showed the lingering crater of the Jaku Hospital. There, Tomura silently stood atop the rocky pillar platform above the ruins of the hospital as he gazed at the massive destruction he had caused. This time, he gained a more muscular physique, and his light grayish-blue hair changed into pure white. He wore a black bodysuit with several mechanical enhancements and a long red cape. "It's Shigaraki," Ariella spoke with a stunned gasp. "His raw power is destroying only 1/3 of the city." "But how?" Karina asked. "No doubt Shigaraki's quirk was surprisingly enhanced by Dr. Kudai-Garaki, that Deku told me about after the Kamino incident," Oriana said calmly. "The situation may have gotten out of hand, thanks to his upgrade. We can't let that get in the way of our objective. Get yourselves prepared, my daughters. We're bringing your sister and niece to us, by force." In the cloaking aircraft, The six sages stared at the mass destruction of Jakku City down below through the large window. Titania, Galadia, Triton, and Opalite gazed with astounded expressions. Zircon's face, on the other hand, looked unfazed when he stared at the window. However, Nightshade didn't bother observing Shigaraki's decay shockwave with the others. She distractedly stared down at a high-tech flash drive in her hand. After doing some research, the truth has left me nothing but flabbergasted. Your mother's name is Reseda, but you know her as Amazonite. Your real mother, Rhina said. Nightshade's eyes narrowed as she couldn't stop thinking about her conversation with Rhina. But she snapped out of her thoughts when he sensed Zircon approaching her. Something troubling you, daughter? Zircon asked. I want to know the truth, Nightshade said with a slightly firm tone. About my mother and Amazonite. Zircon narrowed his eyes, but he kept a composed face. I already told you the truth, Zircon responded. Amazonite was the one who took your mother away years ago. Zircon placed his hand on Nightshade's shoulder. And now, we can take the fight to her, and, no doubt, her precious daughter. Zircon added. We will avenge ourselves, no matter what it takes. Nightshade nodded her head as she sneakily placed the flash drive in her pocket. Yes, father, Nightshade said. Meanwhile, the police HQ message control center panickingly rushed to keep tabs on the communications with Endeavor, White Queen, and other pro-heroes during the Shigaraki's chaotic decay shockwave. Endeavor, come in, the policewoman said. Respond. Hello, White Queen. Are you there? We still haven't heard from any of the heroes who went fighting in Jakku Hospital and Nabu Mansion. The second policewoman reported. Do we know the extent of the damage? One of the high-ranking police officers asked. The effects of the blast extended in every direction from the hospital. The second policeman explained. And the resulting dust cloud is blocking our visuals. All the police officers watched in shock as every monitor screen had permanently shut down in front of their eyes. Back in the cloaking aircraft, Oriana calmly observed Tomura clutching his head on top of the pillar platform, surrounded by dusty smoke on the monitor screen. Suddenly, Endeavor came flying straight towards Tomura from the sky. This could get interesting, Oriana said. Endeavor threw his fists back and concentrated his flames. He then threw his flaming fists forward and unleashed a massive blanket of flames that engulfed Tomura and the pillar platform. Within the blazing flames, Tomura was completely unconcerned by the heat temperature. Tomura suddenly jumped out of the flames and launched straight toward Endeavor, interrupting his chances of striking another attack and alerting him to dodge with a shocked face. Oh my, Oriana said. A vast heat wave like that should have taken him out of commission. Is it possible he was gifted with heat resistance to overcome the number one hero's fire? The second monitor screen pulled up a close-up shot of Tomura's burned skin beginning to regenerate itself. Of course, he's regenerating, Oriana said. Endeavor emitted his grill handguards with his fire and spun swiftly behind Tomura, punching and thrusting straight onto the pillar platform. Then, Endeavor started contacting the heroes and the UA students on his comms, which every pro-hero and high school student began to listen carefully. As Endeavor explained his current situation, Tomura's hand emerged from the fire and reached out to touch the number one hero. But Endeavor quickly grabbed his hand, preventing the villain from making contact for his quirk. However, Tomura unleashed a devastating shockwave of air pressure from the palm of his hand, catching Endeavor off guard and knocking him away with tremendous force. Looks like Daku's record on Dr. Kudaigaraki was true, Oriana said. With a brilliant knowledge over biology and technology, Tomura Shigaraki was indeed surgically modified with stockpiled quirk implanted by that deranged scientist. After getting back up on his feet, Tomura walked towards the broken machine. He took out and placed the remaining quirk-destroying bullets in his pocket before pulling out a severed hand accessory from a nearby box. Suddenly, Endeavor came rushing towards Tomura. Endeavor launched a fiery punch, which Tomura slowly turned around and created a yellowish circular shield made of compressed air from his hand in front of him that was strong enough to block and withstand the number one hero's flames. As I expected, he has multiple quirks, Oriana said. Just like those disgusting gnomes the Shatrix told me about a while back. Oriana continued watching as the second monitor screen pulled up another close-up shot of Endeavor trying to smash through Tomura's unbreakable shield. Then, Tomura's words made Oriana's eyes widen in shock. "Where is One for All and Divine Trinity?" Tomura demanded. "One for All and Divine Trinity?" Endeavor repeated. "No," Oriana muttered. Her eyes narrowed with fury. "He can't. I won't let him." Endeavor's words expanded throughout every comms from the pro-heroes and the UA students. From the opposite side of the devastated city, Tarot Chariot's evacuation team focused on escorting the evacuees' safety as their top priority. Only Nefertari and Sapphire listened to Endeavor's voice from their comms, while Morganite, the Roulette twins, Aisha, and 3 of the Shirobara quartet paid no attention to their comms as they continued ushering the evacuees to the police vans. "Wait, what? What's a Divine Trinity?" Nefertari inquired. "And One for All?" Sapphire questioned. Standing behind Nefertari and Sapphire, Luna and Tarot Chariot stood frozen with a horrified expression on their faces. Tomura turned his head away from Endeavor and looked towards Jakku City. His eyes started to glow rainbow-colored, monitoring and pinpointing the location of 7-star like vestiges miles away. "One for All, Divine Trinity." Tomura whispered to himself with an evil smile. "Ah, there you are." Tomura pushed Endeavor back with his circular shield and detected Luna and Izuku's locations. Then, Tomura crouched down and launched himself away through the air. But it wasn't long until Endeavor managed to pursue him from behind. "Shigaraki is heading straight toward the evacuees. The battle zone is expanding," Endeavor called out urgently over his calm. "Clear the area surrounding the city." Luna and Tarot Chariot overheard Endeavor's urgent report from their comms, as they immediately realized that Tomura was coming after them. They looked back at Nefertari, Morganite, the Roulette twins, Aisha, and the Shirobara quartet, desperately working on getting a large crowd of evacuees out of the area. "If Tomura's wave of decay hit here, everyone will die," Luna said to Tarot Chariot. "But if he comes here or where Midori is at, we'll be putting everyone in danger. No doubt about it. The safety of the evacuees is our number one priority, and they need to be protected at all cost. Shigaraki is only after Divine Trinity and One for All. If every hero here, except Morganite and Aisha, knows the full truth of our secret, they will split up their forces to protect you and the civilians," Tarot Chariot said with a determined look on her face. "But you're right. The only way to prevent his wrath from coming here is to get away as fast as we can." Tarot Chariot and Luna traded silent nods at each other. Tarot Chariot pulled out her magic card and magnified it into a large size. She and Luna hopped on it as they hurriedly soared away from the area at fast speed. "Hey, where are you two going?" Aisha asked as she turned around to look up at Luna and Tarot Chariot. "Oh, we need to take care of something. We'll be right back, we promise," Luna replied. Aisha gazed at Luna and Tarot Chariot, knowing that something's wrong with her friend and her friend's mother. Tarot Chariot and Luna soared speedily through the destroyed Jakku City on top of the magic card at fast speed. "With a good amount of distance, Shigaraki won't be able to see you through all this debris around," Tarot Chariot said as she maneuvered through the city. "But I can't understand how he managed to track down your location the moment he mentioned Divine Trinity and One for All." Luna thought for a moment until her eyes suddenly widened in shocking realization. "He was using search," Luna cried out. "That's how he was able to track me and Midoriya." "Search?" Tarot Chariot repeated. "It was Ragdoll's quirk that All for One had stolen back in Camino," Luna said. The same time when the League of Villains kidnapped me and Bakugo. And with that power, Shigaraki can locate you and Midoriya in an instant, no matter how far you are. Taro Chariot said as she narrowed her eyes. I should have known. We have to find Midoriya quick. Then suddenly, a bright cyan light came down from the sky. It enveloped Taro Chariot and Luna, pulling them up to the cloaking aircraft. Wow, what's going on? Luna exclaimed. It's Oriana, Taro Chariot cried out. We're being pulled up to her airship. Luna tried to break free from the beam, but it was no use. I can't move, Luna said. Taro Chariot didn't hesitate for a minute. She grabbed Luna's hand and threw her away from the tractor beam with great strength, sending her daughter flying in the air. Mom, wait, what are you doing? Luna shouted. It's all right, I'll be okay, Taro Chariot shouted back. I can handle my mother and my sisters. Go find Midoriya and stay safe. Taro Chariot then reached out to the enlarged magic card and tossed it to fly underneath Luna, saving her from falling hard to the debris. Mom, no, Luna cried out. But it was too late. Luna watched as Taro Chariot was being taken into the sky until she was completely out of Luna's sight. Luna stared up at the sky with a worried face, but she shook her head and focused on the task at hand. Be careful, Mom, Luna thought. With that, Luna stood on the hovering magic card on her feet and soared away. Luna rocketed hastily through the city on her mother's magic card. Luna, over here. Luna looked around to the source of that familiar voice, and her eyes lit up in relief. She caught the sight of Izuku steering through the air with the aid of Blackwhip. Katsuki drifted behind Izuku by propelling through the air with his explosion. With a relieved sigh, Luna jetted straight towards Izuku and Katsuki's direction as she flew between them. Luna, thank goodness you're okay, Izuku shouted. You and me both, Luna shouted back. Meanwhile, Tomura continued heading towards the destroyed Jakku City with Endeavor trailing from behind. His eyes slightly widened when he noticed Izuku and Luna's star-like vestiges moving away from the evacuation area and into an unpopulated area. There, Tomura thought. Deku here. Sorry for using a private line, Izuku said over Endeavor's comms. It's highly possible that Luna and I are the one Shigaraki's after. What are you talking about? Endeavor asked. We might be able to lure him to an unpopulated area, Izuku said. Please keep this channel open. Why would Shigaraki be coming after you and Luna? Endeavor questioned. Explain yourself now. It'll have to wait, Izuku replied. We're too far away to have eyes on him, especially given all the dust in the air. If it looks like he's changing directions, can you give me a heads up? I don't like being in the dark, Endeavor stated. Tomura kept tracking Izuku and Luna with the power of search. I can access the data this quirk's previous user accumulated, Tomura thought, and they saw one for all right before their power was stolen. The data on Divine Trinity is remarkably fascinating. To think possessing a quirk that could potentially rival one for all and all for one. He formed an evil smirk on his face. Lucky me. Then, Tomura stumbled down onto the ground and came to a sudden halt. He's down, Endeavor exclaimed. Endeavor charged his fist with flames and took the advantageous chance to attack Tomura, who swiftly altered his trajectory. But that doesn't stop Endeavor from continuing his pursuit of the villain. New course. He's moving to the southwest, Endeavor said in alert over the comms. Yeah, pretty much what I expected, Izuku said over the comms. We can buy you more time. You evacuate the civilians. What? Endeavor exclaimed. Their communicators are a pain, Tomura thought as he glanced at Endeavor. I'm sure I can get rid of them. Okay, heads up. Shigaraki is now heading southwest. He has super regeneration somehow? Nobody underestimate him, Endeavor said over the comms. He then couldn't stop thinking about what Izuku had said to him seconds ago. targeting Midoriya and Luna. Why? I don't understand, but they did take the bait. I have to catch up. I won't leave them on their own. Izuku, Luna, and Katsuki continued propelling through the air as they overheard Endeavor's alerting message from their comms. Right. He said he's following us, Izuku shouted to Katsuki and Luna. We heard, Katsuki replied. You're the one who's not listening. That creep has leveled up into a final boss. You and Luna better make damn sure you don't get caught. And I know how Shigaraki's tracking us, Luna said. Remember what happened to Ragdoll's quirk? No doubt he's using her search to detect our location. That's right. It all makes sense now, Izuku exclaimed with wide eyes. Thanks for the heads up, Luna. Damn it, that bastard, Katsuki said. Then, Izuku turned his head towards Katsuki with a bewildered expression on his face. Kaken, why are you following us? Izuku asked. You want to die? Katsuki yelled threateningly. What? Izuku asked in confusion. There's no time to explain the situation, so I'm the only one who gets what's happening, Katsuki replied. I had to come. Wow, thank you, Izuku said with an astonished face. You idiot. I am not doing it for you. Katsuki retorted. Don't think you're the main character on the battlefield. I just owe that piece of crap villain a beatdown. Luna's eyes lit up as she recalled herself and Katsuki getting kidnapped by the League of Villains during the training camp. It's my fault All Might had to hang up his costume and retire, Katsuki said. Bakugo, you can't blame yourself for. Luna said softly. I know that. Katsuki interrupted. He then grew a wide, terrifying smile on his face. You and Deku can act as bait. And once he gets close, I'll have revenge for what happened. I will defeat him. And I'll prove that I'm a hero. Just don't let your guard down or get in my way. Got it? Yeah, I got it, Izuku responded. Understood. Luna nodded. Deku can consistently use full cowling at 30% without hurting himself. In order to keep his body from getting wrecked, he only brings it up to 45% at the moment of impact. Katsuki thought as he kept following behind Izuku and Luna. His time at Endeavor's agency. All Might's special training. Every time Deku improves, I have to grit my teeth and try to match him. That's not a problem at this 30% speed. And from what Luna's been telling me, her Dazzling Trinity, Exophists, and Starlight Shock have increased during her time at her mom's agency. But as they get stronger, I won't lose to a damn nerd, nor All Might's princess. Katsuki propelled himself right between Luna and Izuku with a powerful explosion. And there's no way I'm going to give up while I'm still behind, Katsuki yelled. Tomura kept soaring forward as Endeavor continued chasing him from behind. Let's see. This should work, Tomura muttered to himself. Tomura suddenly jumped up high and reached into the sky above the dusty smoke. The air blast from earlier, plus radio waves, Tomura said. When Endeavor flew towards the villain, Tomura aimed his hand down towards the number 1 hero. Sorry, number 1, Tomura said. A yellow glow combined with purple electricity was created around the palm of his hand. I don't have time to play with you. With the combination of air blast and radio waves, Tomura then unleashed a devastating wide-range blast of electromagnetic pulse throughout the area. Not only that power combination knocked Endeavor down to the ground, but it disrupted and malfunctioned the communication devices coming from the heroes, the UA students, and the police HQ. At the same time, the waveforms of electromagnetic pulse suddenly ignited the wires that were left exposed in the ruins of Jaku Hospital, which started activating every glowing purple container deep underground. Izuku, Luna, and Katsuki collectively felt the dreadful aura emanating out of nowhere from Tomura's quirk combination attack. Hey, Deku, Luna, Katsuki spoke. You feel that? Yeah, I feel it, Izuku replied. Me too, Luna responded. Then suddenly, Tomura caught up and appeared before Izuku, Luna, and Katsuki. In an instant, Tomura's dangerous aura emanated around 3 UA students, causing them to come across a dreadful image of their disintegrating deaths. This echo in my brain. I know what it wants, Tomura said. He reached his hands out towards Izuku and Luna, who were starting to crumble into pieces along with Katsuki. Izuku Midoriya, Luna Yagi, give me one for all and Divine Trinity. At the last minute, Gran Torino suddenly rushed in and grabbed the 3 UA students before flying away from Tomura in the opposite direction. Gran Torino, Luna cried out. After I heard one for all and Divine Trinity over the radio, I was afraid he would track you down. Gran Torino said. Were you 3 planning to fight him by yourselves? Nonsense. Shigaraki's decay destroys everything it touches. The smallest piece of that debris could kill you on contact. He's not someone you can handle on your own. Well, we can try, Izuku argued. Don't forget. The pro-heroes aren't dead yet, Gran Torino interrupted as he narrowed his eyes. Those of us left will handle him. As Gran Torino hurried away with the 3 US students, Tomura was preparing to rush after Izuku and Luna. But Ryukyu's dragon wings generated huge gusts of winds that disrupted Tomura's concentration and sent him flying away into the sky. Ryukyu rushed towards Tomura and prepared to strike him with her dragon claw. Tomura placed his hand on her claw, but his face went shocked, and he was once again knocked away when his decay didn't work on the dragoon hero. As Tomura was falling from the sky, he looked down and caught the sight of Aizawa emerging onto the scene and staring up at him with his erasure. Rocklock was assisting the erasure hero, while Manuel manipulated water from his fingertips and moistened Aizawa's eyes as eye drops, preventing him from blinking and suffering from dry eye. Wow, you're still pretty cool, aren't you, Eraserhead? Tomura said with a smile. He then took out and held up his communicator in his hand. Kill everyone you see on the surface. At the same time, Endeavor charged forward towards his sidekick Kaido, who manipulated his bandages into a large circle. Endeavor flew through Kaido's bandages, which changed the number 1 hero's trajectory and sent him rushing straight up at Tomura, while enveloping his entire body with blazing fire. Endeavor finally appeared right in front of Tomura as he charged his body with massive flames. Tomura stared at the number 1 hero with a wide grin on his face. Endeavor unleashed a powerful combination of Hell Spider and Prominence Burn to attack Tomura at the same time. But unfortunately, an unfazed Tomura dodged out of the way with a flick of his left wrist, leaving Endeavor staring at him in shock. Down below, Aizawa looked on in shock since he hadn't released Erasure yet. He, along with Endeavor, silently realized that Tomura's physical strength was enhanced almost close to All Might level physical strength, since he wasn't completely powerless under Aizawa's quirk. Ryukyu swung her dragon claw to strike Tomura, who swiftly dodged away. Tomura then dodged Endeavor's flames with his fast movements. With a smile, Tomura continued dodging Ryukyu and Endeavor's quirk attacks. Gran Torino dropped Izuku, Luna, and Katsuki on the ground of a safe spot away from the fight. You should be safe here, Gran Torino said. His power. Erasure took it just now, right? Izuku asked. Yes, Gran Torino replied. He's weakened, if only slightly. What, did you get tired? Katsuki asked. Why are we still so close to him? Luna and I trust Gran Torino, Izuku said. So, Bakugo knows about the secret, right? Toshinori told me. Gran Torino said. We can't go much further. Shigaraki's moving faster than anyone could have expected. He looked up to watch the raging battle between Ryukyu and Endeavor and Tomura from the sky. Few will be able to follow him, and now that our comms have gone down, if he chases you too far out, no one will be able to catch up. You stopped him temporarily, got him away from the civilians, and put him within Eraser's field of vision. Those are quite the accomplishment. I'll go back and keep your teacher on the move. Wait, are you saying we're just supposed to hide? Luna asked. I'm sorry, Gran Torino, but we can't do that. All for One's quirks were transplanted into Shigaraki. That's what Present Mike said, anyway, Gran Torino said. Gran Torino's words immediately caught Izuku, Luna, and Katsuki's attention. Say what? Luna gasped. So that means that he can, Izuku said. All for One. It allowed its user to take quirks from others. Then the user could keep the quirks for himself or give them to someone else. I can't imagine a worse scenario than him stealing One for All and Divine Trinity. Who could defeat him then? Gran Torino said in a serious tone. He formed a smirk on his face. Right now, he's just one person. If we can't stop him, then what's the point of there being so many heroes in this world? Somewhere else, Vernon began leading a populous number of heroes to assist the pro-heroes in fighting Tomura. Then suddenly, a horde of Nomas emerged out of the dusty smoke and charged in front of Vernon and the heroes, who all looked stunned by the monster's sudden appearances. Even Gran Torino, Izuku, Luna, and Katsuki couldn't believe what they're seeing with wide, stunned eyes and gaping mouths. No, Izuku gasped. Where did they come from? Katsuki cried. I thought they were destroyed, Luna exclaimed. The whole lab should have crumbled to dust in that decay wave, Gran Torino asked. So how are there Nomas here? A news helicopter flew over the destroyed Jakku City. This is an aerial view of Jakku City, and what a nightmare. A male news reporter broadcasted as he looked down at the city's destruction. I'm estimating a third of the city has been completely leveled. The cameraman recorded numerous civilians being stuck on the streets. Heroes and rescue teams are evacuating citizens, but look at the current state of the streets. It's chaos down there. Dust clouds are obscuring the extent of the damage here, but the scene calls to mind the disaster in Deku City. What terrible force are the heroes fighting against? At Yua High, All Might was watching the devastating destruction of Jakku City inside the teacher's lounge room. Sitting on his lap are Eri and Nico, who were also watching the news. All Might looked on with an extremely concerned look on his face. Hasu City, Kamino Ward, and now this in Jakku. There seems to be no end to the massive terrorist attacks that began last year. The news reporter continued. And despite the army of police officers and pros on the ground, no information whatsoever has been released to the press. It begs the question, did authorities know about the catastrophe before it happened? Whatever the case, there's no doubt that the destruction we're witnessing today is worse than any incident in recent history. You have to wonder what exactly is going on in Japan right now. Is this the new normal? The dangerous future we're heading towards? On the aerial battlefield, Endeavor fiercely unleashed his flames towards Tomura, who efficiently dodged each fire-based attack while maintaining a sinister smile at the number one hero. Down below, Gran Torino, Izuku, Luna, and Katsuki observed the aerial combat. It appears that the many quirks All for One collected over the years were transplanted into Shigaraki, Gran Torino said. That's what Present Mike said. Anyway, still, right now, he's just one person. If we can't stop him, then what's the point of there being so many heroes in this world? Somewhere else, Vernon began leading a populous number of heroes to assist the pro-heroes in fighting Tomura. Then suddenly, a horde of Nomas emerged out of the dusty smoke and charged in front of Vernon and the heroes, who all looked stunned by the monster's sudden appearances. Even Gran Torino, Izuku, Luna, and Katsuki couldn't believe what they're seeing with wide, stunned eyes and gaping mouths. No, Izuku gasped. Where did they come from? Katsuki cried. I thought they were destroyed, Luna exclaimed. The whole lab should have crumbled to dust in that decay wave, Gran Torino asked. So how are there Namu here? Endeavor concentrated his flames into his fist and punched forward, unleashing a large fiery beam towards Tomura, who swiftly dodged the fiery beam. Endeavor charged forward and delivered multiple fire-based strikes at the dodging Tomura. Slightly further away from the aerial battlefield, Aizawa focused his sights on Tomura by continuously erasing his quirks. Rock, Lock, and Manuel watched intensely, especially since Manuel continued moistening Aizawa's eyes from blinking. While Ryukyu flew towards Endeavor and Tomura, Endeavor released long, thin beams of fire to slice Tomura out of his fingertips. But Tomura dodged away and appeared behind Endeavor, who quickly turned around. Tomura dashed towards Endeavor with a powerful punch, sending both of them to crash into the flying Ryukyu and straight onto the ground. Once the smoke cleared, Tomura stood triumphantly on top of Endeavor and Ryukyu's bodies. "Ouch. That stung," Tomura said. He held his right fist in the air in a mocking manner. "Hey, number one. Is this the arm you held up that day? Probably should have checked before I beat you." "Get off," Endeavor yelled. Endeavor launched a large blast of fire at Tomura, who effortlessly evaded and landed away from the number one hero. "Where did these new nomas come from?" Endeavor asked as he lifted himself up. "It's simple. I have full control over decay now," Tomura said as he stared at his hands. "I wanted to keep the capsules from getting destroyed during that first wave, but I just couldn't save them all." With a smirk on his face, Tomura gleefully watched the nomas attacking Burnin and some of the heroes upon contact. Gran Torino started floating by shooting air from the open holes on the soles of his feet. "Not good. They're heading for Eraserhead now," Gran Torino exclaimed. He swiftly propelled towards Aizawa with incredible speed. "You two keep yourselves hidden." Izuku, Luna, and Katsuki silently watched Gran Torino jetting towards the battlefield. Only Luna and Izuku couldn't stop thinking Gran Torino told them about Tomura obtaining All for One's quirk as a worst-case scenario with a flicker of fear on their faces. Endeavor charged forward once again and launched a large fiery beam at Tomura. But Tomura effortlessly evaded the fiery beam as he quickly rocketed high into the sky. He turned his head to the right and glanced at the sight of Aizawa from a distance. "You know, if your eyes are on me, then you should assume I can see you as well," Tomura noted. Tomura landed back on the ground and swiftly darted toward Aizawa. "Eraserhead, you're standing in my way," Tomura said. In an instant, Tomura was beginning to approach Aizawa's direction. Rock Lock moved from Aizawa and proceeded to strike Tomura, but he missed his chance. "If I die here and your quirks return, you'll be unstoppable," Aizawa thought in shock. "There are still people I have to keep watch over until the day they graduate and become heroes." He took out a knife from his utility belt. "You think I'm a problem? Look around." "You're the one who's standing in the way," Aizawa yelled. "Too slow. I won't make it," Gran Torino thought as he found himself too far away to save Aizawa. Just as Tomura was approximately close towards Aizawa, a sudden surge of green and pink energy unexpectedly came out of nowhere. Izuku and Luna suddenly tackled Tomura, causing them to lock intense eyes and collide their foreheads against each other. Aizawa looked on with a wide-eyed face. "Mr. Aizawa, it's okay," Luna shouted. "No, kids," Gran Torino exclaimed with a bewildered face. "If Shigaraki can't use his powers, then let us join the fight against him," Izuku declared. Izuku and Luna are silently aware that most of the pros are fighting the Namu that just showed up out of nowhere, and none of them can get the fight in time because there aren't enough heroes left to stop Shigaraki. Because the failure of erasure will result devastation on the battlefield if Shigaraki can regain using decay again. "The worst thing would be losing Mr. Aizawa," Izuku shouted at Tomura. "He's protected his students this whole time. We can't lose him after everything he's done," Luna added. "Or what are we even doing?" Izuku yelled. Suddenly, Katsuki appeared behind Izuku and Luna. "It's our turn," Katsuki declared, "to return the flavor." At the same time, Izuku somersaulted over Tomura and landed behind him. He released light blackish teal energy tendrils to fasten and restrain Tomura in a firm hold just as Luna backflipped away from Tomura and activated her exhaustists. "How's this for rational? Teach App machine gun, Katsuki hollered. Katsuki unleashed a barrage of small but powerful explosions at Tomura. At the same time, Luna fired off her exhaustists and rocketed them straight to Tomura in a large explosion. But Tomura stood completely unfazed by Katsuki's explosive assault once the smoke cleared out. "Ha! Aren't those fireworks adorable?" Tomura taunted with a mocking smile. When Tomura attempted to move, Izuku restrained him tightly with his black whip. But Tomura's superior physical strength propelled him to rush through the air, sending Izuku to fly away past Katsuki and Luna. Then, Tomura swiftly appeared in front of Katsuki. "I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you're just not interested to me anymore," Tomura said to Katsuki. His eyes moved to Luna with an obsessive smile. "You, on the other hand, are still an exception." Katsuki narrowed his eyes with a dangerous glare, while Luna looked disturbingly frightened. Suddenly, Endeavor charged out of nowhere and delivered a powerful blazing punch that sent Tomura rolling backwards across the battlefield. "Endeavor, sir," Izuku said. "Where is Shoto?" Endeavor asked. "Outside the zone," Izuku responded. Tomura narrowed his eyes with a menacing glare as he halted his momentum on the ground. "I was awfully close to my goal there for a second," Tomura grumbled. Gran Torino joined Endeavor, Izuku, Luna, and Katsuki. "Shigaraki's physical abilities have become extraordinary," Gran Torino stated. "His power and endurance are comparable to All Might's now," Endeavor remarked. "Really? How?" Izuku asked. "As long as I don't blink. That physical strength is his only advantage," Aizawa added as he joined the others with Rock Lock and Manual. "I'll keep my eyes open as long as I can." "Deku, Bakugo, Luna. There's nothing we can do about you three being here," Endeavor stated. "I won't ask why you came, but we need to support Eraser. Bakugo, you cover Deku and Luna." Then, Tomura charged forward toward the heroes once again. "It might be best to grab Midoriya and Luna and get out of here," Tomura thought. At that very moment, Tomura grunted in pain when a piercing voice uttered inside his mind. "You must take their ability." All for One's voice thought. "One for all, Divine Trinity," Tomura thought. "Come to me, dear little brother." Tomura spoke with an overlapped mix of his and All for One's voice that earned a shock from both Tomura and Izuku. Endeavor unleashed another long, thin blasts of fire at Tomura from his fingertips, which Tomura started dodging with swiftness. "Little brother," Tomura thought in confusion. "That wasn't me talking." He grew a wide, sinister smile on his face. "Your ego is too big, master. This is my power, my body. I won't let a voice in my head turn me into some kind of puppet. There's something I've been wondering. How could a person called the Lord of Evil be brought to his knees by a single man? I'm grateful for the way you raised me. Truly I am. But I have no desire to turn out like you. I want to be much, much better, so shut up. I'm taking those quirks because it's my will," Tomura declared as he reached his hand forward. But Gran Torino swiftly kicked Tomura's hand away. "One blow could be fatal, but I excel at dodging. I trained a guy with crazy strength," Gran Torino yelled. "By companion, this'll be a breeze." He then seized Tomura's shoulder with a firm, angry tone in his voice. "You coward. I won't let you keep disgracing Shimura's memory." "And who is that?" Tomura asked with a bored expression. "Your very existence pains Toshinori," Gran Torino bellowed as he flexed his muscles. "You're the disease destroying this world. You can think whatever you want," Tomura said. Once Endeavor came flying towards Tomura and Gran Torino, Tomura grew a crazed smile on his face. He moved aside out of Gran Torino's grasp and blasted away in the air, causing Endeavor to halt from racing to assist Gran Torino. While soaring in the air, Tomura gazed down at the glaring Izuku and Luna. "Try what you will," Tomura declared. One for all and divine trinity will be mine. Suddenly, Katsuki hovered above Tomura. Think you can ignore me? Katsuki shouted. He clutched the pin on his gauntlet and took an aim at Tomura. Ha! You're dumber than you look. Can't you see they're just the bait, Yamorin? Katsuki removed the pin from his gauntlet and unleashed an enormous explosion that completely engulfed Tomura. Then, Izuku and Luna immediately leaped into the air from opposite directions. Smash! Izuku hollered. Izuku delivered a powerful roundhouse kick that sent Tomura flying away to Luna's direction. Exophists, Luna yelled. Luna delivered a barrage of powerful punches before launching a final punch that sent Tomura plunging away. Endeavor began charging straight towards Tomura. He utilized Katsuki's explosive power and shaped his flames into a large fist around his hand. Vanishing fist, Endeavor hollered. Endeavor delivered a powerful punch to Tomura's chest with explosive impact. Down below, Rock Lock, Aizawa, and Manuel stared at Endeavor's detonative display of firepower. Meanwhile, Taro Chariot groaned as she slowly got up on her feet. She looked around and found herself in a spacious circular room that had black walls with a diamond grid design lined with multicolored glow, and a metallic gray floor that also showed a diamond grid design. Standing at the center of the room were Karina and Ariella. Hello, little sister. Karina greeted. She noticed that Luna isn't with Taro Chariot. Where's your daughter? Like I would ever tell you. Taro Chariot snapped. Karina ignored Taro Chariot's response and stared at her composed face. No matter. We will find your daughter and bring her here where it's safe from Shigaraki's tyranny. Karina said. I won't allow my daughter to be part of this. Taro Chariot said. Ursula, enough. Karina said angrily. You can't keep rebelling this family anymore. It may have worked back then in the past, but it won't work today. Now, come to your senses, and we can be a family again. I won't. Taro Chariot rebuffed firmly. I told you before. My husband and my daughter are my family now. Then I'll make you come to your senses myself. Karina said as she narrowed her eyes. Karina took a sprinting position, but Ariella quickly threw a concentrated burst of blue energy that knocked her older sister towards the wall across the room. Ariella? Karina exclaimed incredulously. Taro Chariot looked on in shock, as she was utterly surprised by Ariella's own action. I'm sorry, Karina, but Ursula's right, Ariella said with a firm expression. This family has suffered long enough. It's time for our coven to be disbanded for good. Karina growled angrily, and then sprinted towards Ariella and Taro Chariot, engaging her younger sisters in a divine trinity combat. Ariella fired a blue energy blast from both hands that knocked Karina back. With an angry growl, Karina sprinted forward and unleashed a rapid barrage of yellow energy blasts at Ariella. Taro Chariot shook off her surprised expression and jumped up in the air above her older sisters. Karina quickly noticed and sprang forward after her youngest sister. Taro Chariot delivered a swift roundhouse kick at Karina's face, sending her to spiral backwards into the ground. Ariella then ran up towards Karina, who quickly pushed herself back up on her feet. Both sisters charged forward and engaged in a standoff, as they stared at each other with enraged faces. When Ursula abandoned and betrayed this family, I was there to comfort and support you by your side, and you dare to use your gifted power against me, Karina bellowed. Karina shoved Ariella and fired a yellow energy beam from her left hand, sending her younger sister to hit her back against the wall. Little do they know is that their mother Oriana was watching the battle between her three daughters on the monitor screen. Well, it's unusual to see three of my girls fighting each other, Oriana said. It never happened before, but I want to see how this plays out. Izuku, Luna, and Katsuki watched as Tomura's body was convulsed from agonizing burns, since he managed to survive from Endeavor's explosive flaming punch. Seriously, Luna muttered. The bastard's still alive, Bakugo growled. It's over, Tomura Shigaraki. Endeavor affirmed as he stalked towards Tomura. No matter how powerful you get, we will not allow you to continue with this pointless destruction. Tomura slowly began to rise from the ground with wheezing breaths. You people, you heroes. In order to save strangers you don't know, you hurt those who love you. That's what my father said. Tomura spoke. Pointless. I have a mission. Stay sharp. Watch him. Gran Torino said. Self-described heroes. You pretend to embody all that's good. Tomura continued as he pulled himself to stand on his feet once again. Your kind is always the same. Every generation, you pretend I don't see those you can't protect and comfort the pain you cause. Always thinking of yourselves as righteous. This world has grown so rotten, it's infested with maggots. It happened little by little, like your mistakes adding up. The cuddle trash that used to be protected. How while you took advantage of these so-called victims for your own profit. Everything that I've ever known. Everything in this world you've built rejected me. But not now. I'm the one who's rejecting you. That is why I destroy you. That is why I keep gaining power. He formed a wicked grin on his face. It's simple, isn't it? And yet, you just don't understand. The fact that you don't get it is why we have heroes and villains. Suddenly, Endeavor released a large burst of fire at Tomura. Thanks for the break. I needed a little breather. Endeavor said. You're knocking at death's door, aren't you? That's good. However, Tomura leaped out of the fire. He looked down at Endeavor with a massive, sinister smile. How is he still moving? Endeavor exclaimed in shock. Suddenly, Gran Torino smashed Tomura back to the ground. Endeavor's firepower has grown weaker. Must have used too many big moves. Gran Torino thought to himself. And he's wearing down as well. Tomura smacked Gran Torino's arms away with a backhand. But Gran Torino immediately evaded, surpassing his limits to fight, without quirks. Gran Torino added. Tomura grasped Gran Torino's leg and crushed it. Aizawa, Endeavor, Katsuki, Luna, and Izuku quickly rushed forward. Gran Torino, Izuku and Luna cried out. But it was too late to rescue Gran Torino. Tomura forcibly pummeled Gran Torino straight onto the ground, causing him to cough up blood. With an ominous face, Tomura pierced his right fist straight through Gran Torino's chest. Izuku and Luna screamed out in rage as they charged toward Tomura. Deku, Dazzler, no, Endeavor warned. Luna and Izuku already advanced forward with Katsuki propelling from behind. I'm over this. Tomura muttered as he reached a quirk-erasing bullet out of his pocket. Izuku fired his black whip forward and Luna aimed her exhaustists in front of her. But Tomura darted past them, Katsuki and Endeavor at high speed. No, you don't, Luna yelled. Luna turned around and quickly zoomed right in front of Tomura with incredible speed. Tomura looked on with wide, shocking eyes. Even Katsuki and Izuku glanced at Luna's sudden movements with surprised expressions. Luna then delivered a brute punch at Tomura in the face and drove her right exhaust straight into the body-enhanced villain's stomach before slamming him hard to the ground that created a large shockwave, which almost blew Izuku, Katsuki, Endeavor, Rock Lock, Aizawa, and Manuel away. Izuku and Katsuki silently looked on to watch Luna angrily pummeling Tomura with worry looks on their faces. Luna kept pounding Tomura with her exhaustists as lightning speed blows. Her punches began to overwhelm Tomura, who was wincing in pain as he tried to keep up blocking Luna's rapid punches with his arms in an X-shaped motion. You're gonna pay for what you did to Gran Torino, Luna shouted angrily. There's no doubt Luna has grown stronger since the last time we met, Tomura thought. But thanks to Eraserhead's quirk, I can finally be able to do this. Tomura instantly grabbed Luna's right arm just before she could punch his face. He grabbed Luna's right arm and pulled her close to his face. Without a second thought, he pressed his lips hard against hers. Luna's eyes widened wide in utter shock, as she couldn't believe Tomura Shigaraki was actually kissing her. Izuku's eyes also widened in shock. But Katsuki gritted his teeth in extreme rage with a wide-eyed expression. "That twisted bastard," Katsuki bellowed. "I'll murder him for this." Then, Tomura released the kiss, leaving Luna to glare at him with a repulsed face. "I've always wanted to do that for a while now," Tomura said with a satisfied smile as he was still grasping Luna's right arm. "But right now, I have more important things to do. We can finish this later." Tomura tossed Luna high up in the sky. "Luna!" Katsuki shouted. Katsuki quickly propelled forward with his explosions and caught Luna in his arms before landing back on the ground. With that, Tomura zoomed straight towards Aizawa. Ariella, Taro Chariot, and Karina became exhausted from all the fighting. Karina angrily raised her left energized fist to attack her sisters. But Taro Chariot zoomed right in front of Karina's spooked face and delivered a roundhouse kick, knocking her down to the ground. Karina looked at her younger sisters and got up on her feet with an enraged look on her face. "You would hurt your own sister?" Karina shouted. "Like how we hurt Ursula," Ariella shouted back. She paid no attention to Taro Chariot, who looked at her with a soft-hearted face. "For ages, she has wanted to make a difference for this coven. But all we ever did is make her suffer in silence. Just like our mother did to me and you." Karina's angry face started to waver for a moment. She looked down as if she was almost ashamed. In a fit of fury, Karina clasped her right fist and zapped Ariella with her yellow energy blast from her hand, knocking her straight on the wall. Ariella screamed in anguish, while Karina looked on with a disappointed expression on her face. "Karina, stop!" Taro Chariot shouted. Taro Chariot created a pink energy card in between her fingers and fired it towards Karina's hand, completely disrupting her quirk concentration on Ariella. Karina looked surprised for a second and then glared towards Taro Chariot. "Karina, you don't have to do this," Taro Chariot yelled. "Yes, I do," Karina yelled back. "This is what our mother expects of all of us. We all must become powerful warriors for the sake of our perfect coven." "You call this perfect?" Taro Chariot retorted, pointing her finger at the struggling Ariella. Karina's anger slowly wavered as she looked at Ariella, who was trying to stand on her 2 feet while taking deep breaths. "Look, Karina, I'm sorry that I abandoned you, our sister and our mother. But the whole reason I did what I did was because I knew what we were doing was wrong," Taro Chariot explained with a soft expression. "In the past, the 4 of us were one big happy family. But ever since we got our powers, everything changed. All I wanted is for us to be a family again. A family that will enjoy life in peace and harmony. I don't want to lose the people that make me happy." In a moment of silence, Karina collapsed to her knees. Taro Chariot and Ariella looked at their oldest sister's uncharacteristic emotional breakdown with surprised faces. "You're right," Karina said as she started crying remorsefully. "I'm sorry for everything that has happened to this family. Can you too please forgive me?" Ariella slowly walked over to Karina and comforted her in a warm hug. "Of course," Ariella said with a smile. Taro Chariot ran forward and wrapped her older sisters in a tight hug. "We're sisters and sisters stood together, no matter what," Taro Chariot said. Karina continued crying with a warm smile on her face, as the 3 united sisters finally made up after all those years. At that moment, Ryukyu rushed out of nowhere and halted Tomura's path with her gigantic dragon claw. Tomura attempted to pierce through Ryukyu's claw, but the dragoon hero endured the pain and continued grasping the body-enhanced villain with her other hand. Then suddenly, Izuku came from behind and grabbed Tomura's throat with both hands. "Shigaraki," Izuku yelled angrily. "You're the one person I can't forgive. And I'll cry no forgiveness to anybody," Tomura retorted. Tomura jabbed his elbow into Izuku's abdomen, causing him to cough up blood. Keep him bound, Black Whip, Izuku commanded. Izuku materialized his Black Whip and ensnared Tomura with them. Yes, that's it. Hold, hold, Endeavor shouted. He started emitting flames into his fist. Muster your strength for one more attack. That should bring an end to this. Muster your strength. Tomura thought to himself. He successfully punched a hole through Rukyu's clawed hand and clasped a small red bullet in his hand. These fools still don't know I have this. Rukyu's eyes quickly caught the sight of the small bullet in Tomura's hand. A quirked letter, Rukyu exclaimed in high alarm. One for all 100%. Izuku thought as he lifted his left arm upwards and channeled 100% of his quirk. Wyoming smash. Izuku nailed his hand and released a powerful shockwave on Tomura's head. Unfortunately, Tomura efficiently resisted the powerful onslaught while gnawing on Izuku's arm. This is it. Tomura thought. Right now, I feel as though I can overcome anything standing in my way. I just have to keep running toward my dream. And remember where I came from. With that, Tomura flicked the bullet forward with his fingers, sending it to propel directly toward Eraserhead and striking his left leg. Tomura flicked the bullet forward with his fingers, sending it to propel directly toward Eraserhead and striking his right leg. However, Aizawa pulled out a knife and stabbed it in his right leg. Without hesitation, he sliced his right leg off that halted the quirked letter's effects. Clean cut. You're such a badass, Eraser. Tomura thought as he still clenched down on Izuku's arm, while noticing Aizawa's erasure was beginning to wear off. But for a second there, you were distracted. Tomura suddenly unleashed an unexpected shockwave that knocked Rukyu, Endeavor, and Izuku away with incredible force. Finally breaking himself free from Izuku's grasp, Tomura immediately rushed towards Aizawa. This game is coming to an end, Tomura declared. Izuku recovered and lashed his black whip out to restrain Tomura. But the body-enhanced villain managed to reach his hand out and grabbed Aizawa's face before slicing one of his eyes with his fingers. Then suddenly, 6 crescent-shaped blades of psychokinesis were launched towards Tomura, all at once from the sky. A massive ice mountain was formed and pierced Tomura on the top. Luna looked on with a relieved expression as Shoto and Aisha arrived on the scene. Is he okay? Shoto shouted to Rocklock and Manuel, those kids who were following them earlier. Tomura thought as he laid on top of the iceberg. Just as Tomura decayed the giant ice, Izuku lunged forward and attacked him with a black whip punch that broke the ice into several pieces. He then propelled Manuel, Rocklock, and Aizawa away from the body-enhanced villain. Brimming with tears in his eyes, Izuku glanced at a semi-conscious Aizawa. Please, sir, stay alive, Izuku murmured. What's our plan to stop me now? Once the thin smoke of cold ice evaporated, Tomura stood with a confident smile at the heroes. Fight all you want. You're just delaying the inevitable, Tomura proclaimed. Back at the evacuation area, Morganite and the rest of the heroes continued to help and escort civilians safely away from the demolished city. What's the status report? Morganite asked. I can't reach Chariot, Luna, nor Aisha on the comms. Someone's quirk has caused a communication blackout throughout the whole area in the city, Ametrine reported. Do you think we should go after them just in case? Morganite, you've got to check the news, Nefertari shouted as she was running up to Morganite and Ametrine with her compact. You're not going to believe this. Nefertari held out her compact mirror in front of Morganite and Ametrine that showed the news broadcast on the reflection. If you're in one of these areas, you must evacuate immediately, the male news reporter announced. I repeat, a giant villain is currently moving north from Mount Gunga in Wakayama. His destination appears to be Jaku City and Kyoto. The news showed several images of unconscious heroes cluttered across the ground in the forest. The predicted path of his rampage will take him through Mino City, Kakan City, Naburo City, Hando City, Masu City, Horisu City, Kurado City, Kurada City, Karamari City, Suonara City, House City, Sero City, Shido City, Anoto City, Deno City, Oda City, Asaryuta City, Nabato City. The news reporter continued. As the city list goes on, concerned expressions were planted on Morganite, Ametrine, and Nefertiti's faces. Oh my God, Ametrine gasped. He took out so many heroes that were on that Gunga Mountain mission. Morganite said with a worried tone. I only hope we have enough active heroes that are prepared for what's coming. Back in the cloaking airship, Taro Chariot, Karina, and Ariella stared at the monitor screen with horror expressions on their faces. They watched as an enormous, muzzle-bound monster recklessly rushed through the densely populated urban areas that only left a trail of devastation. He has brown spiky hair, pointed teeth with his lower canines protruding out on either side of his mouth, and several rocky, jagged parts on his back. He wore tight black pants and a portable radio hanging in a rope around his neck. In the throne room, Oriana only looked at the monitor screen with a glare. Back in the ruined battlefield, Izuku's face was brimming with tears in his blazingly angry eyes as he stood towards the smirking Tomura with gritted teeth. Because without the use of Aizawa's erasure, Tomura will take the advantage to regenerate his injuries into full health. In a short distance, Endeavor began breathing heavily as he knelt on the ground with smoke emanating from his body. Just as Aisha hovered near Endeavor, Shoto applied his ice towards his father to prevent him from overheating. Shoto, Endeavor spoke. It took us a while because Aisha and I stopped to help Ryukyu. Shoto explained. You cool off. The ice should help you rally. At the same time, Katsuki clenched his teeth as he and Luna stared at Tomura. He growled in annoyance for not being fast enough to take action. Rock, Lock, and Manuel began working on stabilizing Iwasa's severed leg in his critical condition. Tomura had finished regenerating all of his injuries. That's better. Now, die, Tomura declared. Just as Tomura extended his hand towards the ground, his chest ripped open in a violent fashion and erupted with a spray of blood. That made the body-enhanced villain confused and disoriented all at once. Both Izuku and Luna immediately took notice of Tomura's sudden limitation. What's happening? Tomura questioned as he struggled to stay on his feet. I don't understand. Earlier, I couldn't use my quirks. So, of course, my body suffered as I pushed past my physical limits. But now, super recovery should be working full force again. So, how the hell do I have injuries? Suddenly, Tomura's face went wide-eyed in realization. Hold on. What is today's date? Has it been 4 full months yet? Tomura wondered. His body isn't healing, Luna thought as she continued staring at Tomura. Gran Torino set off for one's roster of strong quirks was transplanted into Shigaraki. He's like Midoriya. He's the vessel for a huge amount of power. But his body's not strong enough to handle it. Whatever. So I'm not regenerating instantly. Tomura thought with indifference. His face became serious as he clenched his fist for a minute before raising it upwards. I'll just rely on to decay. Tomura then slammed his hand toward the ground. But at that moment, Tomura found himself being pulled into the air by Izuku's black whip. His eyes widened in disbelief. Tomura turned his head to see Izuku soaring through the air while carrying the heroes with black whip. One for all. The 7th user's quirk. Float, Izuku thought. We're flying, Rocklock exclaimed in surprise. I know this power. Gran Torino muttered. He formed a smile on his face. It's Shimura's. At the same time, Luna floated in the air from the opposite side of Izuku. Her back was fluttering with a pair of large, pink bat-like energized wings. Divine Trinity. Dazzling wings, Luna thought. When did she have time to learn that? Aisha gasped with wide eyes. If Shigaraki touches the ground, he can cause another wave of mass destruction. Izuku and Luna thought as they stared at the grinning Tomura. We're gonna stop you up here in the air with everything they got, Luna declared with a determined face. Using every ability we've got our arsenal, Izuku proclaimed with resoluteness. We won't let you escape from here. Izuku's black whip started to become unexpectedly unstable. My control's not the best. But, Izuku thought in alarm. He descended the rest of the heroes safely to the ground while still carrying Tomura in the air with him. I can get them out of the way. Please take care of the injured, Luna shouted. Shoto, you help out with the trios. Endeavor ordered. I'm on it, Shoto answered. This is pathetic, Endeavor said to himself, looking up at Izuku and Luna. The number one hero should be fighting, not those kids. Deku, you moron. You and Luna should get as far away from that guy while you can, Bakugo yelled worriedly. We can't rely on Erasure anymore. Who else is still able to face off against him in the air? Izuku shot back as he wrapped his injured arm in Black Whip. I'm sorry. But if anyone is going to stop him, it's gonna be us, Luna added. Katsuki and Endeavor grasped their jaws with frustrated expressions. Izuku and Luna traded knowing nods as they were ready to fight Tomura at full force of their quirks. You two like it up here so much. And after I steal one for all and Divine Trinity, I'll send your ass all the way to heaven, Izuku Midoriya. And the rest of your little friends will be right behind. Tomura taunted with a wide grin. And Luna Yagi will be mine forever until the end of time. You won't lay a finger on our friends, Izuku yelled. He pulled Tomura close to him as he charged forward. You have done enough. And I will never belong to you, Luna hollered as she flew towards Tomura. Down below, Katsuki watched Luna and Izuku clashing with Tomura alone high in the sky with a distressed expression on his face. Flashback. Months earlier, Izuku, Luna, Katsuki, and All Might gathered inside Gym Gamma under an evening setting. Joining them are Shiro, Uraraka, and Tsuyu for assistance. You want us to help with your training? Shiro asked Izuku. That's awesome. Uraraka finished. What should we do? Tsuyu asked. I know you're busy, so thank you for assisting, All Might said. I need your advice on how to control this new power that I manifested, Izuku said. You mean Black Whip? You're getting the hang of it, Shiro replied. His eyes stared at Izuku's puffed-up afro on his head. Also, what's with the hair? About that. Kaken's been amazing and agreed to let me chase after him as a form of training, which I have not done very well at, Izuku explained with a sheepish smile. I thought you might have some guidance from you, given your abilities. My ultimate goal is to capture super-fast targets. But why did he explode you? Uraraka exclaimed. Geez, Bakugo, can you be nice for a change? Deku's the one who wanted it to be like a real battle, Katsuki retorted. Luna watched with a sweat drop as Tsuyu began annoying Katsuki for his explosive mistreatment towards Izuku in their training. Well, you can count on me to help, although I'm pretty new at using my wires, Uraraka said. Isn't Mr. Aizawa the master at capture technique? Shiro questioned. Well, young Uraraka, I'd like you to teach him how to control his body when he breaks in midair, All Might explained. But he doesn't stop. He's always jumping around, Uraraka pointed out. Yeah, he's a hopper for sure, Tsuyu added. Well, as his power increases, he's going to be able to stay in the air longer, All Might continued. He needs to be able to move around more freely with his feet aren't on the ground. He turned to Shiro. And as your homeroom teacher, I'm afraid he is busy at the moment. What about you, Luna? Need any help with your quirk? Tsuyu asked Luna. I just want to get better control on my punches, Luna replied. I was hoping Midoriya could help me out since he went from punching to kicking. I'll be glad to help you with that, Luna, Izuku said. I've written every move from the entrance exam until recently. I can multitask, helping you and getting control of my quirk. Izuku looked into his notebook as Luna, Uraraka, Tsuyu, and Shiro walked towards him. I've been studying moves you and Mr. Aizawa used. Pretty sure I have them memorized, Izuku said to Shiro. But what would really help if you can tell me how they make your body feel? With the activation of her zero gravity, Uraraka floated freely in the air as Izuku managed to steady himself in midair next to Uraraka. Try to imagine that you're swimming through the air. Use your arms and legs to balance. You know what I mean? Uraraka instructed. Like swimming. Yeah, that makes sense, Izuku asserted. He channeled one for all into his palms. And then, I can use air force for propelling. With a flick of his fingers, Izuku propelled himself around the air with his air force. Look at you. Nice move, Uraraka praised. Why don't you add in some Black Whip training while you're up there? All Might instructed. Right, Izuku responded as he continued steering through the air. All Might started approaching Katsuki, who was sitting on a rocky platform in a slouchy manner. Well, he's getting it, Katsuki commented. Float is a power that allows him to stop in midair. It's basically like zero gravity. All Might explained. His gaze briefly flicked towards Izuku. If he can be trained for my master's quirk in advance, maybe it won't activate randomly. You can unlock it when it's unnecessary. No surprises. And what about your daughter? Katsuki asked. Luna's exophists. All Might answered. He settled next to Katsuki. It's exactly like how I executed my own punches when I had one for all. Ha, like father, like daughter. After a few moments of quiet, Katsuki broke the silence. Hey. Katsuki spoke up. What's up? All Might asked. I don't think you and your wife will be able to hide the truth much longer, Katsuki said. This is totally different from when Deku just had super strength and Luna's power began to evolve unexpectedly. People will ask questions. Which is why we won't let them see any new quirks and new power upgrades from now on. All Might explained. The trick will be making sure they don't go out of control, like with Black Whip and Exophists. The night we spoke, you seemed to understand the situation. Before we share this with others, we have to think about it carefully. What are the ramifications? Would we be putting others at risk? The villains of this world aren't the only ones who seek power. The conversation between Katsuki and All Might got silent until the hot-blooded student broke the quietness once again. Deku has complete faith in you. But I still have some questions. Why didn't you tell him more about the fourth user? Katsuki questioned. We know how numbers 5 through 7 died, but you avoided him. Before, when I asked you the same question, something kept you from being honest with us. So talk. All Might didn't deliver a response to Katsuki's question. Did you realize something you wanted to hide? Katsuki demanded as his voice started to raise slightly louder. Is one for all? I can't. All Might interrupted. I'm not certain yet. I won't tell him something I don't know for sure. Frankly, I'm concerned about young Midoriya, just like you are. Katsuki averted his eyes from All Might before looking back at Izuku. The thing is, he doesn't think about himself. He never has. Katsuki admitted with a soft expression. Even now, with everything he can do, that still hasn't changed. It always freaks me out. That's why I pushed him away. But as a kid, I didn't recognize my own weaknesses, so I bullied him. Which is the reason you're always so quick to help him, so you can make up for your actions like a penance. All Might said. I don't think he feels you have anything to atone for though. Before, when I said you were like Endeavor, I meant that you both changed. He only has hindsight. My weakened state was his catalyst. I'm sure you'll have another chance to talk things over with young Midoriya. Though I'm not a great role model in that department. Katsuki moved his eyes to Luna. And Luna. She's fierce, driven, and confident in any way. Katsuki admitted with a soft expression. It always intrigues me every time ever since we met. That's why I want to stay by her side throughout her journey, no matter what comes in our way. And I appreciate it. All Might said. I'm sure my daughter will also appreciate that as well. Flashback ends. Izuku and Luna kept on unleashing the full power of One for All and Divine Trinity against Tomura. During a continuous barrage of Izuku's powerful kicks and Luna's energy blasts, Tomura maintained a malicious smile on his face. But Izuku and Luna noticed that Tomura's body wasn't healing as fast as it was supposed to. As long as the body-enhanced villain kept taking damage, Izuku and Luna continued to unleash every ounce of strength in their quirks to stop Tomura once and for all. Izuku channeled One for All into his damaged arm and unleashed a triple assault of Detroit Smash, Wyoming Smash, and St. Louis Smash. At the same time, Luna dashed forward and delivered a swift barrage of Exophists and Starlight Shock. Luna and Izuku's attacks prevented Tomura from striking back with his own quirks. All Tomura can do is deflect Izuku and Luna's relentless assault, which was causing his blood to flow nonstop from his open wounds. I'm getting hurt faster than I can heal, Tomura thought with wide eyes. They'll beat me if I don't focus on defense. If the heroes hadn't pushed me to my limit earlier. Now, even if my body wasn't incomplete, these children, these powers. You two are holding me back from my dream, Tomura yelled as he raised his hand forward and charged a glowing onslaught towards Izuku and Luna. That's exactly why we're here, Izuku declared. And we'll do everything in our power to take you down, Luna yelled back. Izuku and Luna charged forward. Luna swatted Tomura's hand away and wrapped her wings around the body-enhanced villain's arms backwards, allowing Izuku to land a powerful punch on Tomura that sent out a massive wind pressure throughout the ruined battlefield with incredible force. Izuku recoiled in pain and Luna released Tomura's arms while trying to regain her aerial balance. But the impact of Izuku's Texas smash brought more gushing wounds to Tomura's body. What do I have? Which quirk can stop them? Tomura thought desperately. Come on. Down below, 3 UA students and the pro heroes looked at the aerial battle with amazed expressions. They're seriously just students? Manuel exclaimed in awe. Yeah, but if the idiot and my girlfriend keep this up, they're dead. Katsuki responded. Deku's using his legs and air force to maneuver around, controlling multiple quirks at the same time. Every skill he's ever learned is in play here. He's hellbent on keeping Shigaraki from touching the ground again. Even with Luna's help, their attacks didn't stop the bastard. So now it's an issue of who can hold out the longest. He clenched his fist with a worried tone. Deku's body is busted. He and Luna won't be able to outlast someone who can regenerate. As soon as their quirks are going to be stolen from them, and there'll be nothing but dust. He turned to Shoto with an urgent tone in his voice. Todoroki, you're done with the first aid. Yes, Shoto replied. What do you need? Shut up and get over here, Katsuki interrupted. He then turned to Aisha, who was standing next to Endeavor. Endeavor, save your strength. Aisha, use your quirk to get me, Endeavor, and your boyfriend up in the air. He looked back at Shoto, who was walking to him. You, keep your old man cool. We're gonna need him to pull this off. They're just children, Rocklock protested. You take care of things down here. Shoto interrupted. Knowing that Katsuki's plan is already set in motion, Rocklock held an unconscious Aizawa tightly in his arms. You got it. Leave them to me, Rocklock said. Aisha's hands began glowing in sea green energy. She outstretched her arms and enveloped herself, Katsuki, Endeavor, and Shoto with psychokinesis. She lifted herself and everyone off the ground before soaring up in the sky at full speed. Shoto used his ice to cool down Endeavor's overheating temperature. Strike when Black Whip is fully stretched out, Endeavor ordered. Once I'm in range, you 3 beat it quickly. The blast is deadly. Hang in there, Midoriya, Shoto thought. We're coming, Luna, Aisha thought. While Izuku and Luna continued attacking Tomura, with rage, Aisha, Katsuki, Endeavor, and Shoto finally caught up to them, just as Tomura got knocked away from Izuku and Luna. Now, Katsuki shouted. Aisha launched Endeavor straight towards Tomura at full force. Endeavor wrapped his arms around Tomura's arms and seized him from behind, taking Tomura by surprise. Izuku and Luna immediately stopped charging with surprised faces at Endeavor's sudden intervention. Back, Deku. You too, Luna, Endeavor shouted to Izuku and Luna. He then focused his power on Tomura. Plus Ultra Prominence Burn. Endeavor unleashed a powerful beam of concentrated heat from his body that completely engulfed and incinerated Tomura with the full might of his flames. Tomura screamed out in agonizing pain. Then suddenly, Tomura's charred body shot out 3 black tendrils with red cracked lines from his back and pierced Endeavor in the chest and stomach. Endeavor, Shoto, Aisha, and Katsuki hollered in shock. Why? Won't you die? Endeavor asked in pain as he descended away from Tomura. Tomura then focused his attention to Izuku and Luna. Little brother. Tomura spoke in All for One's voice as he raised his hand forward. You and the girl are mine. Tomura released several black and red tendrils straight towards Izuku and Luna. Katsuki dashed forward and blasted towards Izuku and Luna with several explosions at an incredible speed. In that moment, Katsuki thought, I didn't plan or think. With no hesitation, Katsuki pushed Izuku and Luna out of the way, allowing the black and red tendrils to stab Katsuki into his right arm, chest, and right leg. My body just moved on its own, Katsuki thought. With no hesitation, Katsuki pushed Izuku and Luna out of the way, allowing the black and red tendrils to stab Katsuki into his right arm, chest, and right leg. That made Luna's eyes widened in horror. No Bakugo, Luna muttered in a low voice. Katsuki coughed out blood from his mouth. Stop trying to win this by yourselves. Katsuki spoke weakly. When the smoke cleared, Tomura's body looked completely charred. Let me go. Tomura spoke as he struggled to resist All for One's control. The black and red tendrils withdrew out of Katsuki's chest, sending him plunging toward the ground. Kakenbakugo, Izuku and Luna screamed. Before Izuku and Luna could reach and catch Katsuki, Aisha quickly caught her hot-blooded classmate with her psychokinesis in the air, while still carrying Shoto and the injured Endeavor with her quirk. Izuku and Luna looked down to watch Aisha soaring down to the ground, as they were relieved that Aisha was able to catch Katsuki in a nick of time. It's my body, Tomura said. Izuku and Luna looked back up at Tomura when the black and red tendrils retreated back into his fingers. You've fought and fought today, spilling so much blood for no reason. All for One spoke. Izuku and Luna glared intensely at Tomura with wide, unblinking eyes. No reason? Izuku muttered. This bastard, Luna murmured. The magnitude of anger began to overwhelm Luna and Izuku's state of mind. Izuku's black whip started to form all around his body, while bright pink triquetra tattoo-like marks materialized all over Luna's face, arms, and legs. This last boy who interfered now suffers. All for One continued. Because he mistook foolishness for bravery. Then suddenly, Izuku and Luna snapped with enraged glares. Izuku quickly heard a ringing sound in his head, just before All for One launched his black and red tendrils at the two students. Izuku and Luna charged One for All and Divine Trinity into full maximum power, allowing them to launch forward while destroying and crunching on the incoming tendrils in complete rage. Even Tomura looked at Luna and Izuku with a shocked face. You take that back, Izuku and Luna demanded. Suddenly, a crack opened in the middle of Tomura's shocked face that revealed All for One's grinning face. As All for One took control of Tomura's body, he took an opportunistic chance to touch Izuku's face and Luna's neck that immediately caught the students off guard. Midoriya, Shoto cried out in fear. Luna, Aisha hollered. You two are finally mine. All for One declared. Izuku and Luna gasped in terror. All for One began to steal One for All and Divine Trinity right out of Izuku and Luna's body. Come to me. One for All and Divine Trinity. All for One said. Tomura, Izuku, and Luna's eyes widened unexpectedly and everything went black. At that very moment, Luna opened her eyes and looked around to find herself in a white, empty void. Huh? Where am I? Luna wondered to herself. I can't be inside Divine Trinity. Could this be the world within One for All? If that's so, then where's Midoriya? Luna's ears picked up the sound of childlike crying. She looked to locate the source of that crying and found a 5-year-old boy sobbing on his knees close to his chest. He has dark black hair and dried patches of skin around his gray eyes. He wore a black shirt, blue jeans, and black sandals. Luna wasted no time running up to him. Hey, what's the matter? Are you all right? Luna asked as she stood in front of the crying boy. The crying boy lifted his head and looked up at Luna. His face sparked a surprising gasp out of Luna's mouth. He looks just like Nico, Luna thought. Is this what Shigaraki looks like as a child? Who are you? The boy asked. I'm Luna Yagi. Luna replied. And what's your name? T. Tenko. The boy answered. Well, hello, Tenko. Luna said as she kneeled in front of Tenko. It's nice to meet you. Why are you crying? Tenko was about to respond, but he closed his mouth and looked away in guilt as his eyes kept releasing tears. Luna noticed and placed a comforting hand on Tenko's cheek, making him look back at her with a soft face. It's all right. You don't have to tell me, Luna said. She wrapped her arms around Tenko and squeezed him in a gentle hug. I'm not going anywhere. I'll protect you no matter what. Tenko's eyes quivered. More tears kept flooding from his eyes. Thank you, Luna, Tenko said. A sudden sound of approaching footsteps caught Luna and Tenko's attention. They turned their heads to the source of the footsteps that made Luna's eyes widen in horror. Shigaraki? No, it's just not him, Luna said with a wide-eyed gasp. Tomura slowly walked toward Luna and Tenko, while trying to reject All for One from taking control of his body, leaving them in a half-fused state. Luna immediately stood protectively in front of Tenko as Tomura, and All for One stood towards them before their eyes. What are you doing now? Tomura growled. To show our other guest, and an interesting one of that. All for One smiled. He pointed his finger directly at Luna. This child right here is someone you know very well, but not her true identity. Luna Yagi, daughter of Taro Chariot and All Might. That earned a stunned look on Tomura's face. What? Tomura exclaimed in shock as he glanced at Luna. That's right. This girl is indeed All Might and Taro Chariot's secret child that they kept hidden from the world. Both heroes and villains alike. All for One continued. No doubt her quirk is an inheritance from her mother, but I never would have expected that power might rival One for All itself or even mine. What an extraordinary power indeed. Tomura kept staring silently at Luna until his face went composed. I'll admit, I did not see this coming, Tomura muttered. He extended his left arm forward. But still, it's not too late. Luna, you can still join me. Stop it, Shigaraki, Luna said with a firm expression on his face. Let me make myself clear because I don't know how many times we're going to have this same old persuasion. So, I'm going to say this one last time. I will not join you, nor All for One, no matter what you say. I choose to become a hero to help people to strive for a better, brighter future. Not a sad, depressing world like you two. Well, there you have it, Tomura, All for One said. It's the will of her heroic parents that already influenced her mind as it is. Luna narrowed her eyes, while Tenko cowered behind her in fear. Then, a soft hand gently landed on Luna's head. You will take neither my daughter nor her power away. Luna's eyes widened as she and Tenko looked up to see Taro Chariot standing next to her. But Taro Chariot isn't alone. Standing behind Tenko are Ariella and Karina. Well, what a delightful family reunion. All for one said with a smile. But you're not stopping us from securing your precious daughter. You want to bet? My daughter and Divine Trinity are not yours for the taking. Taro Chariot said with a glare. Tomura narrowed his eyes in irritation. Without hesitation, he began eroding the world inside Divine Trinity. Taro Chariot, Karina, and Ariella held out their glowing hands at Oriana and created a protective shield of multicolored energy that strongly halted the erosion from reaching them. Damn it. Tomura thought as he gritted his teeth. First, one for all. And now, Divine Trinity. There's no way they're going to force me back that easily. Suddenly, All for One raised his hand and attempted to steal Divine Trinity, just as he slightly covered Tomura's face. You know, I was watching that child through Tomura. It's true she inherited an incredible quirk from you, Chariot. But that doesn't mean she's in full control. She had already succumbed to her anger earlier. Just let her surrender and hand over that power. All for One declared with a gleeful smile. You're wrong, Taro Chariot stated. You can't see what drives my daughter to keep going. But of course, you made your purpose to use people for your personal gain, so you could never understand. She's able to work as hard as she must for the sake of others that aren't able to fight nor defend themselves. That's why we will stay by her side as a family. Behind the protective shield, Luna observed Tomura, helplessly succumbing to All for One's control. She clenched her fists and put on an unwavering look on her face. Tenko. Luna spoke as Tenko looked up at her. You may be part of Tomura, but I promise, no matter what it takes, I will save you. I will save you from all the suffering that All for One put you through. Tenko's eyes lit up in surprise. With All for One's smile faded from his face, Taro Chariot, Karina, and Ariella united their strength of power within Luna, who closed her eyes while feeling the power of Divine Trinity at full power. When she opened her eyes, Luna lunged toward Tomura. Then suddenly, an explosion of bright white light gleamed in the sky. Tomura, Luna, and Izuku began falling away from each other once they were repelled out of the mental world and re-emerged back into the real world. Luna's eyes glanced back and forth at Tomura and Izuku. Divine Trinity, I can feel it. It wasn't stolen, Luna thought. But how? Since the quirk transplant wasn't complete, you couldn't find enough power to take One for All and Divine Trinity. All for One thought as he had taken control of Tomura's consciousness. Do stay awake, Tomura. Your new body must be completed. Withdraw for now and regain strength. Please, Shigaraki. Luna pleaded. She began to lose every inch of consciousness. Just give it up. Luna's view went black as she began to descend from the sky. Meanwhile, Taro Chariot, Karina, and Ariella stared at the magic card with stunned faces inside the cloaking airship. Taro Chariot's magic card displayed a news broadcast on Gigantomachia rampaging through the cities all the way to Jakku City. Currently, the villain is continuing north through Sero City with no sign of slowing down. The female news reporter proclaimed, "This is catastrophic. The city's being demolished." Ariella, Karina, listen. I know I'm asking a lot, but I need your help. Together, we can evacuate and rescue residents, and take the villain down from creating collateral damage. Taro Chariot said, Please, lend me your aid. Karina and Ariella exchanged silent faces. After a quick moment of thinking, they looked back at Taro Chariot with confirmed nods. Elsewhere, Opalite observed the battlefield through a pair of binoculars. She was standing on one of the destroyed buildings along with Zirkin and Nightshade. "Oh, there she is," Opalite informed. "I've located the target. She's down there with Endeavor." She looked at Zirkin over her shoulder. "So, how exactly are we going to separate her from the others?" "Leave that to me," Zirkin said with a sinister grin. "You two stay here and be on the lookout. I'm ready to destroy Amazonite's daughter out of existence." Zirkin sank into his shadow under his feet and hurriedly slithered his way to the battlefield. Nightshade silently stared at the high-tech flash drive in her hand. Ever since Rhina handed it to her back at the Naboo mansion, she couldn't stop shaking the curiosity to take a peek of the secret information, nor ignored it and followed her father's mansion. She closed her eyes and held the flash drive close to her chest. When she opened her eyes, her face went bold, and she pressed a white button to turn on the flash drive.